reborn in Brazil as a financial tycoon. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1: The Wounded. In November 1944, at the Naval Hospital in Naples, Italy, the cold sea breeze blew Fang Lang's hospital gown. But he seemed unaware of it, admiring the warships anchored in the naval port with a look of amazement. It's not that these warships are so advanced and powerful, but the final glory of these huge ships and cannons really gave him enough shock. "Fang, why did you run out? Mr. John Clark is looking for you all over the hospital." The young nurse with freckles on her face was anxious. "Miss Lilith, you are so beautiful today." Thanks to Fang Lang's 20 years of seamanship, he was able to communicate with this little nurse in a basic way in rusty Italian. "Thank you for your compliment, but this can't convince me to agree to let you continue to blow the cold wind here. Coming quickly, the sea breeze outside is very cold, and your body hasn't recovered yet. Did you forget that you suddenly fainted when you were standing yesterday?" Lilith was obviously accustomed to Fang Lang's compliments. Since the US military landed in Italy, they have requisitioned this naval base and the surrounding ancillary facilities, including this hospital. The American soldiers are notoriously free and undisciplined, and they must have teased the girl in front of them. "Okay, if you can be gentle to me when you give me the injection, I promise not to run out again," Fang Lang said playfully as he walked into the hospital. "You mean I'm not gentle enough? Believe me, you will soon see what it means to be ungentle," the little girl said fiercely. "No, believe me, the reason I ran out to blow the cold windies, because I was afraid that I would fall into your gentle place and never be able to walk out again, so I had to let the cold wind of the Mediterranean wake me up." Fang Lang looked at Lilith affectionately, making Lilith blush. "Haha. Fang, should I hide aside and not affect your confession?" A figure across the corridor, who was also wearing a hospital gown, a US military jacket, and leaning against the wall with a cane, teased. "Hey John, since you know you shouldn't make a sound, you should hide and don't affect my confession." "Haha. Brother, you have no chance. It's obviously me that Lilith likes. Didn't you notice?" John said confidently, and he didn't forget to raise his eyebrows at Fang language. The two people's teasing made Lilith a little shy, but she still imitated the tone of the aunt in the hospital and said, "You two bastards, you have no chance. Get into the ward quickly. I'm going to give you an injection." Fang Lang and John hugged each other gently and laughed, and walked back to the ward. In fact, the hospital has never figured out where Fang Lang was injured. He was in a coma when he was sent to the hospital. The frontline doctors thought that his brain was damaged by the shock wave of the explosion. He fell into a coma and didn't wake up for a week. It was thought that he was beyond saving. After John's strong request, Fang Lang was sent from the field hospital on the front line to the naval hospital in Naples. The reason why John wanted to bring Fang Lang out was very simple. Fang Lang was injured. In order to save him, if Fang Lang hadn't desperately dragged John out of the trench with a leg injury, John would have been blown into slag by the shells that followed. Fang Lang was injured and unconscious because he was blown nearly 10 meters by this shell. What John didn't know was that Fang Lang was no longer the sergeant of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force who dragged him out of the trench. Fang Lang only remembered that he was the chief engineer of a 100,000-ton container ship of Costco shipping. When crossing the Drake Passage, he encountered a typhoon. He was tied with a safety rope and was checking the tightness of the equipment in the storm. He was hit by the waves and flew out of the gangway. He was dragged by the safety rope and hit the container and lost consciousness. When he woke up again, he became Fang Lang, a Brazilian Expeditionary Force soldier in the Italian War in World War II. In the first few days, Fang Lang felt that he was in a chaos, and the memories of two different people were constantly intertwined and repeated. Until now, Fang Lang's brain would still crash suddenly, but after waking up, his spirit would be significantly improved, and he would gradually gain a lot of his original memories, including some memories that Fang Lang had forgotten before, such as the chalk words left by the teacher on the blackboard in the elementary school class, which he could remember clearly. "Fang, my father found me." John couldn't tell what he felt. John had never mentioned his father to anyone. What do you mean you ran away from home? Fang Lang was actually not familiar with John. John was a major liaison officer assigned to the Brazilian Expeditionary Force by the US military. Fang Lang was originally just a sergeant squad leader of the 1st Regiment of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force and had almost no intersection with John. But the two fought in the same trench, and Fang Lang saved John's life, which made John, an American cowboy, grateful. A comrade in arms who he had never met risked his life to save his life, and John felt that he had to repay him. Of course not, it's just that my relationship with my father is not good. We always quarrel when we meet. He originally wanted me to join the Navy, but I wanted to stay away from him, so I joined the Army. Hey, what's the matter? My old man and I often argue with each other. He always wants to control me and let me inherit my father's business and manage the family farm. Got? It's not a feudal society now. I have my freedom, right? So, I secretly signed up for the army. I don't know if he was angry at home. John didn't expect that the two people had similar experiences. Does your father know that you came to Italy? I wrote to him before I left, but I haven't received a reply until now, so I don't know if he knows where I am. Thinking about it, I still feel a little unfilial. Fang Lang didn't understand why the original body had a cramp in his brain and joined this Brazilian Expeditionary Force. As far as Fang Lang knew, it seemed that only Brazil in the entire South America joined World War II at the instigation of the United States, and it seemed that only 20 to 30,000 people in the entire Brazil participated in the war. If it was to fight the Japanese, Fang Lang would definitely do it without saying anything, but helping the United States to go to Europe to fight, this must be a brain cramp. John patted Fang Lang on the shoulder and said, "Brother, don't be sad. I can ask our logistics department if they have received your letter. Because the Brazilian Expeditionary Force is actually a unit under the jurisdiction of the US military, the logistics, transportation, equipment supplies, even mail and allowances are all handled by the US military, so John asked to help him ask if there are any letters from him. Now we are on the battlefield, it's useless to think about these things. You said your father found you? What does it mean?" Fang Lang didn't want to continue thinking about the facts that could not be changed. Today he called the hospital and said that he had arranged for his adjutant to come to me. He wants to transfer me to the logistics department of the Navy. But I don't want to work under him at all. Damn it. Obviously John was very dissatisfied with his father's plan to transfer him to his command for protection. Hey, brother, you have a good father. He wants to protect you, understand? Fang Lang heard that John's father wanted to transfer John to the logistics department under his command, and he knew that his father must be an extraordinary person. I understand, but I don't need protection. I'm an adult, but he still treats me like a child. John's train of thought really surprised Fang Language. He had such a good resource, but didn't know how to use it. Hey, buddy, from what you said, your father is a great man, right? Fang Lang was really curious about what kind of person John's father was. He originally thought that John's situation in the US military should be similar to his situation in the Brazilian army. Because John is not a white person. From his yellow skin, black hair, and black eyes, you can see that he is definitely a minority. The proportion and status of minorities in the US military should be similar to the status of Fang Lang, a Chinese, in the Brazilian army. Chapter 2, Relationships. When John heard Fang Lang asking about his father's identity, he did not hide it and said directly, "Yes, my full name is John J. Clark, and my father's name is Joseph J. Clark. Have you heard of him? Brother, I'm just a soldier in the Brazilian Expeditionary Force. Apart from knowing Roosevelt, the most important person in the United States I know is you. Of course Roosevelt doesn't know me." Fang Lang made a joke with a helpless expression on his face. I don't know what kind of big shot his father is, but he actually thinks he knows him. But from his words, we can also hear that he is still very proud of his father. John laughed and said, "Brother, from what you mean, I should be proud, right? I can become a big shot with Roosevelt, haha." John laughed heartlessly again. Hey, wake up, you haven't told me who your father is yet." Fang Lang was also helpless about John's carefree personality. Well, okay. Can't you let me be happy for a while? Keeping a happy mood can help me recover faster, you know? Seeing Fang Lang's face starting to darken, John smiled and said, okay, okay. Satisfy your curiosity, but you must remember not to tell others, okay? My father is the commander of the 5th Aircraft Carrier Fleet. So, is he a big shot? John's words shocked Fang Lang's heart. No wonder he felt that he should know. He was indeed a big shot. Looking at John's skin color, Fang Lang couldn't help but wonder, are you sure you are his biological child? Wait, don't be angry, I mean you and I are both yellow people. Your father should also be yellow. Hearing Fang Lang's question, John almost raised his fist and hit him, but after thinking about it, he understood Fang Lang's doubts. The United States is indeed a country with serious racial discrimination, and it is indeed difficult for minorities like them to make a name for themselves. Okay, brother, I forgive you. You are right. My father is also a yellow man. To be precise, we are all Indians. My father is a mixed race of Cherokee and Sioux, and my mother is Jewish. So you know that, if my father takes care of me, there may be some bad influences, so I don't really want to work under my father. Hearing John's words, Fang Lang understood what John was thinking. He was afraid that, because of his own reasons, his father would be labeled as nepotism, which would damage his father's prestige. Wait, John, I understand what you mean. You think that, if you work in the army through nepotism, it will damage your father's reputation, right? Yes, John said as a matter of course, indicating that he really refused to serve in the Navy for his father's consideration. Fang Lang slapped his forehead and said, brother, are you bad? You are 27 years old this year, and you are already a major in the US Army, and you earned it entirely on the battlefield. Do you think your ability is bad? Fang Lang felt that he should educate the stubborn American. Don't you understand what nepotism is, brother? You have no ability at all. It's called nepotism to survive in the army, by relying on your father's relationship. But you don't need the support of your family at all. You can become a major in the army, by relying on your own efforts. In our Chinese saying, it's called a tiger father and a dog son, understand? You should go to your father's command to help your father, understand? This is called father and son fighting together. John was a little absent-minded after hearing Fang Lang's words, and fell into deep thought. Fang Lang didn't disturb him, and began to worry about his situation. He didn't want to continue to run to the battlefield, to fight for the Americans and Germans. Although the salary was good, he didn't want him to work for the Americans. Soon, John hugged Fang Lang, and kept patting Fang Lang on the back, saying, brother, I understand, you are right, I should help my father, and stand with him. Hearing that John could figure it out, Fang Lang was also very happy for him. If he had such a relationship, he would have run away, to become a prince long ago. Going to the army, to fight alone was definitely a brain hole. Brother, how about you come and help me? If you continue to stay in the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, you can only go up, and be cannon fodder. I don't want my savior to go and die. Looking at John's sincere face, Fang Lang knew that this was his true words. At the same time, he was also happy in his heart. There was no need to have such a relationship. Fang Lang was not as stubborn as John. It was just that Fang Lang couldn't ask for such things himself. But now that John asked for it himself, there was no need to worry at all. Is this appropriate? I'm from the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, and your father transferred you to the 5th Aircraft Carrier Fleet. If I'm transferred to your 5th Fleet, then I will no longer belong to the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, right? Fang Lang was not sure whether such a transfer was feasible. It seems that the Brazilian Navy is under the jurisdiction of the 4th Fleet, and my father's troops are fighting the Japanese in the Asia-Pacific battlefield. You are not a US military, so it seems that it is not feasible to transfer you to the Asia-Pacific theater. However, the logistics chief of the 4th Fleet is Brigadier General Near Jackson, an old comrade of my father. He used to visit our house frequently, and I'm very familiar with him. It should be no problem to ask him to help take care of my savior. How about asking him to arrange for you to be transferred to the Logistics Department of the Brazilian Navy? Listening to the relationship John mentioned, Fang Lang wanted to laugh out loud. Needless to say, the United States is now the father of Brazil, and all logistics are handled by the US military. Now that he has found the Navy's bread and butter as a backer, if he still can't make it, Fang Lang thinks he can find a piece of tofu to kill himself. Of course, brother. As long as I stay away from our officers, who can't command battles at all, it doesn't matter where I go. If he can really be transferred to the logistics department, he won't have it too easy in the future. It is now the end of 1944. World War II will officially end on September 2nd next year. I must find a way to get enough benefits and accumulate enough capital in the last time. Then it's settled. I'll talk to my father's adjutant first. Then I'll talk to Brigadier General Jackson. You can rest assured and don't worry. We will never let you go back to the front line to die. Just like that, a week later, Fang Lang received a transfer order from the Expeditionary Force Command while lying on a hospital bed. In view of Fang Lang's heroic performance on the battlefield, he was awarded the rank of second lieutenant. Because of his injury, he could not continue to serve in the combat unit, so he was transferred to the Navy Logistics Department. Although Fang Lang knew that the Brazilian Navy of this era was basically a joke, jokes were good. Jokes don't have to go to the battlefield. Jokes only need to transport some supplies and drop a few mines. Is there any easier job than this? What's more, it's the Navy's logistics department. Fang Lang almost burst out laughing. After receiving the order, Fang Lang's headache was gone, and he was no longer dizzy. It seemed that this order was a magic medicine that cured his illness and directly resurrected him on the spot. In fact, Fang Lang did faint a few times this week, but it was less and less. Fang Lang also completely accepted the memory of his original body during these faintings. He is a fourth-generation immigrant from Brazil. His grandfather was a squadron officer of the Taping Heavenly Kingdom. At the last moment of the demise of the Heavenly Kingdom, he boarded a ship to the United States with more than 300 subordinates and fellow villagers. When passing through Japan, he heard the propaganda of the Brazilian government in Japan that, as long as he became a naturalized immigrant, he could get land, which was safer than going to the United States to make his own way. After everyone discussed it, they unanimously decided to go to Brazil. In this way, a group of Taping Heavenly Kingdom survivors who had never heard of Brazil came to Sao Paulo, Brazil to settle down after nearly 2 months of wandering. Because his grandfather was a squadron officer of the Heavenly Kingdom, he had some prestige among this group of immigrants, and some of the wealth he brought from the King dynasty also allowed them to quickly own their own farm in Brazil. The farm was more than 100 hectares, a proper landlord family. Overseas Chinese huddled together for warmth. After 3 generations of efforts, the Chinese in Sao Paulo have now developed into a village with less than 2,000 people, but compared with the number of more than 100,000 Japanese immigrants, it seems insignificant. With the outbreak of World War II, some conflicts inevitably arose between the Chinese and the Japanese in Brazil. Since the Brazilian government had always been pro-German, the living environment of the Chinese was very poor. Fortunately, as the Americans began to intervene in Brazilian politics and later pulled Brazil into the Allied camp, the living environment of the Chinese began to improve, and the Japanese immigrants began to restrain their minions. It was under this circumstance that Fang Lang joined the Brazilian Expeditionary Force. There were only 3 Chinese in the entire Expeditionary Force, and there was no Japanese, because the Japanese in Brazil were all overseas, but their hearts were in Japan, so no one joined the Brazilian Expeditionary Force. After joining the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, Fang Lang was really brave in combat, because he had practiced some boxing and kicking kung fu with his grandfather, since he was a child. He captured several Italians on the battlefield, and killed several Germans. So in the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, he also became a sergeant. If John had not been saved, it would have been difficult for him to get promoted after retirement. It is not that the Brazilian army is racist, but that both the government and the army are quite corrupt. If you don't give benefits to your superiors, you basically have no hope of promotion. Of course, others will have sufficient reasons, such as soldiers have to go to military academies to become officers, and you absolutely cannot refute it. Chapter 3 Report. Report to the Commander, 2nd Lieutenant Fang Lang of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force. Reporting here. Fang Lang shouted outside the door of Brigadier General Jackson of the 4th Fleet of the US Army. This is what John told Fang Lang when he left Italy first. Brigadier General Jackson hoped to talk to Fang Lang before he arrived at his post. "Come in." A majestic voice came from the door. Fang Lang straightened his military appearance again, stretched out his hand, and pushed open the door, only to see a tall, blonde, blue-eyed middle-aged man in his 50s sitting behind a large desk inside the door looking up at him. Fang Lang walked to the desk in a standard military posture and saluted, saying, "General Second Lieutenant Fang Lang reports to you." At this moment, Fang Lang was still very nervous. This was the first time in his 2 lives that he had met such a big officer. Although John said that General Jackson was easy to get along with, that was because he had a good father, and he was just a soldier of a third-rate small country, not much different from the status of a colonial vassal army. If he didn't perform well, he might be sent to a corner. "I heard from John that you saved his life, right?" Brigadier General Jackson did not let Fang Lang sit down and asked directly. "Report to the general." "Yes." Fang Lang was worried that he would make more mistakes if he said more, so he could only answer whatever was asked. "Have you always been familiar with him?" Hearing Brigadier General Jackson ask this, Fang Lang understood that he was doubting whether he had other intentions in saving John. "Report to the general. I didn't know him before I saved him. When he woke up, I was in the same ward with him, and I knew that it was him who was saved, so I gradually became familiar with him." Brigadier General Jackson, who had been staring at Fang Lang's expression, put aside his doubts after hearing Fang Lang's answer. "I heard from your superiors that you performed very bravely on the front line. Why do you want to be transferred to the Naval Logistics Department?" Brigadier General Jackson raised his doubts again, obviously suspecting that Fang Lang asked John to transfer him to the Logistics Department because he was afraid of death. "General, it's mainly because of this injury that I always faint suddenly. John is worried that my body will be in danger in the combat unit, so he recommended me to your command." Fang Lang couldn't say that John was repaying his life-saving grace. On the battlefield, everyone was originally in a relationship of you saving me and I saving you. If he had to transfer his benefactor to the logistics department because of a life-saving grace, this might make General Jackson feel that John was not mature enough. Of course, Fang Lang felt that John was immature, but the more immature he was, the more beneficial it was to Fang language. "Then will you still have this kind of sudden fainting now?" Jackson obviously didn't want to have someone who could faint at any time under his command. "General, I don't know about this problem either. I haven't fainted for 3 days. I personally feel that my physical condition is fine now, and I can work at any time." Fang Lang didn't want to be sent back to the hospital to continue lying down. "Okay. If you feel unwell, you must report it in time, understand?" Jackson was also worried that if Fang Lang had any physical problems with him, John would cause trouble for him. "Understood, General." Fang Lang couldn't tell Jackson that his health was so good now that he could kill a cow. He didn't know if it was a sequel of crossing, but his physical fitness had at least doubled compared to before. His thin body was now beginning to show more and more obvious muscles. His spirit was even better. Fang Lang felt that he could last at least 3 or 4 days without sleep. "Then tell me what you know, and I'll arrange a job for you." Brigadier General Jackson decided to accept the job of this relative. "Report to the general. I can speak English, French, Portuguese, Chinese, Spanish and Italian, and can also do some basic oral communication. If I have naval related skills, I can be competent for shipping work on large transport ships." Fang Lang can speak so many languages, of course. It is the knowledge wealth brought to him by 2 lives. And the shipping work on large transport ships is his old profession in his previous life. Of course, the current ships are definitely not as advanced as their ocean-going container ships, but crossing the ocean without relying on automated driving ships is also a necessary skill for their crew. And more than 20 years of ocean-going sailing skills are enough to rival the excellent captains of this era. Fang Lang's answer obviously surprised Brigadier General Jackson. "Aren't you the son of a Brazilian farmer? How come you know so many languages and sailing?" Apparently, Brigadier General Jackson had investigated Fang Lang's background. He didn't expect that his answer was very different from what Brigadier General Jackson knew, but Fang Lang couldn't say that it was his skills in his previous life. After thinking for a long time, he could only weakly answer, report to the general. These are all learned by myself. My dream before joining the army was to have my own ship. I want to sail to my hometown China to have a look. Okay. It seems that I have to arrange another job for you. You go to the Charles Joss transport ship at the dock first and report to Major Ackroll Cross. Their transport ship will be returning to the United States soon. I will ask Major Cross to assess you. If you can pass the assessment successfully, then I will allocate one of the transport ships we seized to your Brazilian Expeditionary Navy for you to serve as the captain, to fulfill your dream of being a captain. What do you think? Brigadier General Jackson was secretly happy when he heard that Fang Lang was confident that he could be competent for the shipping work of the ocean-going transport ship. Because General Mascarius de Moraes, the commander of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, has approached Brigadier General Jackson many times, hoping to arrange a transport ship for the Brazilian Navy, so that the Brazilian Expeditionary Force can open a separate route between the Expeditionary Force and Brazil, to transport the wounded and the dead back to the Brazilian mainland. There are only a few transport ships seized now, but the captains who can be trusted are unwilling to work for the Brazilians alone, and the Commodore is not prepared to sell the seized ships to merchants at a low price. If Fang Lang is really qualified for the position of captain of an ocean-going transport ship as he said, then someone will send a pillow whenever he wants to sleep. Yes, General. Thank you for your cultivation. I will never let you down. Fang Lang was ecstatic when he heard that he could directly allocate a warship to the Brazilian Navy and let him serve as the captain after passing the test. Although the transport fleet is often attacked by the German Navy submarine force at this time, it is actually escorted by the naval fleet every time it sails. Moreover, with Fang Lang's military rank and qualifications, he should not be assigned a large transport ship, and small transport ships would not be the main target of the German army. Soon Fang Lang followed the messenger under the arrangement of Brigadier General Jackson, holding his transfer order. He arrived at the naval dock in Naples. In fact, it is not far from the naval hospital, but the warships are moored near the naval hospital, and Fang Lang is now in the berth for transport ships. The Charles Joss transport ship in front of him is obviously a Liberty ship that has been in service for no more than 2 years. The Liberty ship is actually a ship type that Fang Lang is very familiar with because it is so famous. It was built from 1941 to 1945, when Germany was defeated and surrendered. 18 American shipyards built more than 2,700 ships. It is not known whether this ship is an improved Victory ship. Fang Lang still hopes to board the Victory ship because the early Liberty ship only has an outdated steam engine as power, and the speed is only about 11 knots. The speed of the German submarines has reached 17 knots, so if it is discovered by the German submarines, it will be impossible to escape. The Victory ship has improved its power based on the Liberty ship, and its speed can reach 18 knots. At least it will not be caught up by German submarines, and its life is more secure. Of course, the Liberty ship is also armed. Each Liberty ship has 6 anti-aircraft guns and 1 anti-submarine gun, which is just a psychological comfort. If you really encounter the German Navy, you will definitely have to rely on the escort fleet. Passing through the crowd who are using hoisting equipment to transport materials, Fang Lang followed the messenger through the gangway to board the Liberty ship that is about to return to the United States to transport strategic materials. Chapter 4 List. Major Ackroll Cross, the captain of the transport ship Charles Joss, was a burly black man with a bald head and a full beard, about 40 years old. In the original body's impression, this was the first black American officer Fang Lang had met. Black people in this era would be discriminated against in the US military, so Fang Lang was surprised that a black man could serve as an American captain. However, there were many black people in Brazil, and Fang Lang also knew how to deal with black people. After seeing the messenger convey the order, Fang Lang saluted and was about to report when he was interrupted by Major Cross's outstretched right hand. Seeing the other party's outstretched right hand, Fang Lang quickly reached out his hand and held it tightly. "Hello, Lieutenant Fang Lang. Don't be too restrained on the ship. Welcome aboard the Charles Joss. After saying that, he patted Fang Lang's right arm with his left hand, very enthusiastic. "Hello, Major Cross. I'm Fang Lang from the Brazilian Expeditionary Force. It is an honor to be able to study on your ship." Cross could see Fang Lang's awkwardness from his expression, but no other white soldiers noticed his abnormality, and they obviously did not express dissatisfaction, because he was black. Since Brigadier General Jackson directly arranged for him to board the ship, to assess his sailing skills, and he was a young man who looked less than 20 years old, Cross thought that this person should be a relative. So in his attitude, he did not show the airs of an officer at all. "Okay, young man, since we are going to live on the same ship next, we are brothers. I will let the first mate arrange a bed for you first, and then I suggest that you hurry up and make a big purchase today, because there are a lot of empty warehouses on our ship on the return trip. Maybe you can make a fortune when you arrive in the United States." Hearing Major Cross's direct words, Fang Lang's heart beat wildly. Isn't this a free transport ship? We need to think carefully about what can be sold from Italy to the United States to make money. "Captain, won't we be punished for using warships to transport personal belongings?" Fang Lang was still a little worried about whether he would be punished. "Haha, young man, we are just taking some of our own personal belongings, and we won't fill the ship. What's the problem? There is nothing to carry on the return ship. Who cares what you bring? This is the welfare of the crew. In the future, your ship will also allow the crew to bring some personal belongings, right?" Major Cross said meaningfully. After listening to Major Cross's words, Fang Lang also came to his senses. He was also allowed to bring some personal belongings on the ocean-going freighters in modern society. Why didn't he react when he was in the army? "I understand. Thank you for your reminder. I couldn't help but start to think, what can Italy sell to the United States to make money directly? Think about it. Many of Italy's most famous products in later generations seem to be luxury goods, chocolate, and sports cars, but at this time, these seem to have not grown up yet. In this way, Fang Lang, under the leadership of the first mate, settled down and soon came to the streets of Naples, Italy, to look for goods that could make him rich. Because it was still early, Fang Lang was not in a hurry. While admiring the streets of Italy, he sighed in his heart that these Italians were not good at fighting, but they were really good at making food. After walking around for so long, it seemed that the most shops on the street were restaurants. This made Fang Lang very helpless. He couldn't take pasta to the United States to sell it. How could he make a fortune? Pizza was even more so. There were no famous Italian industrial products in this era. It seemed that it was basically impossible to get rich. In fact, the above were not the reasons why Fang Lang could not get rich. He touched his own $500 in his pocket and sighed helplessly. The capital was the fundamental reason that restricted Fang Lang from getting rich. Of course, don't think that $500 is a small amount of money. The US dollar in this era is much more valuable than the US dollar in modern society. This money is the military pay that Fang Lang has saved for a long time. Fang Lang was walking around when he came to an alley behind the Navy hospital. He found that most of the people gathered here were soldiers, including American soldiers, Italian soldiers, and British soldiers. Although they were wearing different uniforms, they were all gathered on both sides of the alley talking about something. Fang Lang thought there was something exciting to see, so he couldn't help but go over. He saw several soldiers putting all kinds of trophies on the ground, including German watches, medals, pistols, kettles, helmets, rifles, etc., and even a BMW 750 motorcycle. Fang Lang understood that this was a black market where some soldiers exchanged trophies. He walked around with interest. Because he had been in the battlefield for a short time, although he had killed a few Germans. From the situation, when Fang Lang woke up, there was definitely no trophy around him. He touched the $500 in his pocket and thought about it. Since there was no chance to get rich, he would buy some souvenirs and collect them for appreciation in the future. The first thing Fang Lang wanted to buy was a watch, because he didn't have one at the moment. He browsed the entire black market from beginning to end. To be honest, there was no watch of this era that particularly suited Fang Lang's aesthetics, and he had not found a watch that suited him. Just when Fang Lang was about to give up and pick one at random, a hoarse voice said in not very fluent English, "Brother, do you want to change your watch?" Fang Lang looked in the direction of the voice and saw a short and strong man with black hair and brown eyes wearing an Italian military uniform looking at him. There was no rank or logo on the uniform, so he couldn't tell whether he was a real Italian soldier or a black marketeer. It was not until now that Fang Lang realized that most people would actually take off the obvious military logos on their bodies. There was also a large number of people who didn't mind being known by others. He looked at the Cobra logo with a pipe in his mouth on his arm, but he didn't pay much attention to it. He answered casually in Italian, "Yes, brother, but I looked at your place and didn't see what I like, so I'm sorry." The man was obviously relieved when he heard that Fang Lang could communicate in Italian. Obviously, English was a language he had just learned, and it was not easy for him to use. He also responded in Italian, "Haha. Brother, I didn't expect you to speak Italian. That's great. If you want to change your watch, I think you should take a look at my collection." As he said that, he directly lifted up his left arm, revealing 7 or 8 watches on his arm. Looking at the man's arm full of watches, he was stunned, and he couldn't help but become interested. He walked forward to take a look. One of the watches with a stainless steel case particularly attracted Fang Lang's attention. The man obviously noticed Fang Lang's gaze and took off the stainless steel watch and handed it to Fang Lang, saying, "Brother, this is a high-end watch from a German general. Take a good look." Fang Lang took the watch in his hand and observed it carefully. He recognized it at a glance as a Patek Philippe 1518 perpetual calendar watch. It was made of stainless steel, which was a rare product. "I'm sorry, I don't know much about the brand of watches. Can you tell me what brand it is? It's really beautiful," Fang Lang asked, pretending not to know the brand of the watch. In this era, advertisements could only be placed in newspapers and radio, so the transmission of information was far from being as developed as in later generations. Patek Philippe was far from becoming a top luxury brand in later generations, and it was only circulated among some top aristocratic royal families. I don't know this either, but believe me, this watch was really taken from a German general. Fang Lang's question put a damper on the idea of the old man to raise the price. "Well, can I know how much you're going to sell it to me?" Seeing that the Italian didn't know this brand, Fang Lang was overjoyed, knowing that he might get a bargain today, and said calmly, "How much?" "No, I don't want money." Hearing that Fang Lang wanted this watch, the Italian was very happy, but when he heard that he wanted to pay for it, he directly refused. Chapter 5, Financial Path. No money? Fang Lang was stunned by the seller's statement. What's the point of selling something for free? He quickly asked, "What do you want?" "Cigarettes. Is this your first time here?" The Italian lira is now as worthless as waste paper, so I don't accept lira. The Italian looked at Fang Lang and explained seriously, "Why cigarettes? Can't US dollars work?" Fang Lang was very confused. He never thought that cigarettes would be used for shopping. US dollars are not impossible, but in our army, cigarettes are stronger than US dollars. If you give me US dollars and I want to buy cigarettes, it will be difficult to buy them. The Italian statement made Fang Lang react for a while. It turned out that there was such a way to play. Aren't cigarettes distributed directly? Why do I have to buy them? As far as Fang Lang knows, the logistics supply of the US military is sufficient. Each soldier has a fixed cigarette quota every month. Normally, there should be no shortage of cigarettes. How come cigarettes have become a hard currency stronger than US dollars on the black market now? Yes, cigarettes are distributed, but the monthly quota will be used up in 3 days on the high-intensity battlefield. If you want to smoke again, you have to wait for the next month's quota or exchange. So, you understand. The words of the Italian were like clearing away the fog and letting Fang Lang see thousands of golden lights. Cigarettes were spread from the engines, and Brazil happened to be the main tobacco growing area. Although Brazilian cigarettes have not formed a big brand now, there are many small-scale cigarette factories. For example, Fang Lang's uncle Yang Zhang's family runs a small workshop-style cigarette factory. Fang Lang, who was still thinking about how to purchase goods and sell them in the United States to make money, suddenly discovered a new world. He quickly asked again, "Brother, are you only Italians trading with cigarettes, or do everyone trade with cigarettes? Does it depend on the brand?" Because Fang Lang does not smoke, he did not expect that cigarettes have become hard currency in the army. So were the cigarettes he was allocated in the Brazilian Expeditionary Force directly embezzled by the superiors? It feels like he has lost 100 million, and his heart hurts. Of course everyone trades in cigarettes, including the Germans. As for the brand, it's not very important. Of course, the most popular cigarettes on the market are American Lucky Strike. It seems that you don't understand the market at all. You don't have any cigarettes, right? Then how much are you willing to pay for this watch? The Italian obviously felt that Fang Lang had strayed too far from the topic and wanted to bring the topic back to the watch trading. Seeing that the Italian didn't want to continue to popularize market information for Fang Lang didn't get angry, but whispered in his ear, "Brother, I'm a crew member on a US Navy transport ship. I just arrived in Italy, so I don't know much about the market, but I will often travel between the United States and Italy in the future. Do you understand what I mean?" When the Italian heard Fang Lang's words, a bright golden light burst out of his eyes. He scanned the people around him and saw that no one noticed them. Then he lowered his voice and pointed at Fang Lang's armband and said, "Brother, this is not the emblem of the US Navy." Yes, I'm from the Brazilian Expeditionary Force Navy, but we are under the command of the 4th Fleet of the US Navy, and I happen to be an officer of the Naval Logistics Department. So, in order to make the Italian believe that he has the ability to get enough cigarettes, Fang Lang had to reveal a little about his identity. The Italian's eyes began to glow green, and he whispered to Fang Lang, "Brother, how about we go to another place to talk?" Fang Lang knew what the Italian was thinking. He didn't want him to think that he could have his own channels alone. He had to put enough pressure on him in order to get more benefits. "Brother, let's continue to talk about the price of this watch. I don't have any cigarettes on my hand now. I don't know how much you want to sell it to me in US dollars. The deliberate emphasis on the word now made the Italian clearly understand what Fang Lang wanted to express. "Brother, the watch is a small matter. If you can bring a lot of cigarettes, what's the harm in giving you this watch?" The Italian was very sensible and was obviously a big businessman. "You'd better tell me how much cigarettes this watch is worth." Fang Lang was also a man who didn't show his eagle until he saw the rabbit and continued to dangle the Italian. "Brother, you want to know how much a pack of cigarettes is worth in US dollars, right? No need to test it. I want to be a long-term business partner with you, and I will never deceive you on such things," the Italian said directly and frankly. Fang Lang didn't react at once. He was used to the character of the Chinese in his previous life and wanted to repeatedly test the bottom line with this Italian. Unexpectedly, he didn't beat around the bush with him. "Okay, brother, let's all be honest. I will definitely confirm it with others. So can you tell me how much a pack of cigarettes is worth in US dollars?" Since others have already spoken frankly, Fang Lang will no longer beat around the bush. "Brother, if you have cigarettes to sell to me, I will buy them at $5 a pack. Of course, this price will also follow the market, but I believe that the price will definitely become more and more expensive. I believe that no one in Naples can offer a higher price than me," the Italian said with a firm tone and full of confidence. This price really exceeded Fang Lang's expectations. You have to know that the US dollar in this era has not been devalued and issued indiscriminately in later generations. The purchasing power is quite strong. $1 now can definitely be regarded as the value of 1000 RMB in 2000 years, because $1 now is about equal to 1 gram of gold. And if Fang Lang remembers correctly, the price of a pack of cigarettes in the United States is about 20 cents now. So if cigarettes are shipped from the United States to Europe, the price will directly increase by 25 times. Is there any business with higher profits than this? Fang Lang dare not calculate how many times the profit will be if he purchases them from Brazil's own cigarette factory and ships them here. "Brother, your offer is really attractive to me. I think I know what goods to bring when I come back from the United States. I wonder how much you can eat." Fang Lang calculated the capital in his hand. $500 can buy 2,500 packs of cigarettes. If he sells them to him at the price of $5 a pack, it will become $12,500. With this money, he can buy 62,500 packs of cigarettes in the United States, which is worth 312,500 yuan. This business is definitely worth Fang Lang's life. You know, in the United States now, a car only costs about $1,000. If Fang Lang runs 2 times, he can turn the money that is not enough to buy a car into the price of more than 300 cars. Logically speaking, such a good business should not be discovered by him. I don't have much US dollars, but my uncle has sufficient funds. It is absolutely no problem to get tens of thousands of dollars. In this era, tens of thousands of dollars are really big bosses, so the tens of thousands of dollars of Italians are definitely confident that they have sufficient funds. To be honest, the profit in the middle is very large. Isn't there any other businessman doing it? Fang Lang didn't believe that such a good business opportunity was not discovered by others. Of course someone has already started to do it, otherwise how would the price be determined? You are wondering why no one has directly shipped a whole ship here, right? The Italian asked Fang Lang's question with a smile. Before Fang Lang could answer, he answered himself. Do you think the German submarines on the sea are vegetarians? Except for the fleets protected by the escort fleet, who would be willing to take the risk of other civilian merchant ships without the profit at this price. The ships protected by the escort fleet are all transporting strategic materials, and they will not do business with you. In fact, the time when these cigarettes can be used as cash has only started since the Americans landed and counterattacked, which is only more than 4 months. It takes time for big merchants to prepare fleets. As far as I know, some merchants have never returned after taking the risk to sail. This has made the price of cigarettes more firm. Chapter 6 Mayfair. After hearing the Italian's analysis, Fang Lang finally understood why there was such a huge price difference. It seemed that he had to hurry up and complete capital accumulation before the big capitalists began to enter this market on a large scale. Brother, can I come here directly with the goods next time? I know that I will have the goods in my hands next time, so I don't have to worry about whether I can sell them. But since you reminded me of this way to make money, I will not abandon you to make money, unless you harm my interests. Do you understand? Fang Lang didn't know whether the Italian would have gone to the battlefield when he came next time. Although he didn't have to sell the cigarettes to him, since he pointed out this way to make money for himself, it was not Fang Lang's style to abandon him, so it was better to ask clearly. Brother, you are very nice. You are right. I may be transferred with the troops when you come next time, but it doesn't matter. I will take you to meet my uncle now. Next time you come to Italy, just go to my uncle directly. Believe me, no matter how much goods you bring, we will be able to eat it. After that, he began to pack up his stall. Fang Lang couldn't help but admire the Italian's impetuous work style. He looked at the watch in his hand. Although he found a big business in reselling cigarettes, Fang Lang didn't want to give up this watch. It would be better to be generous and give a high price to the other party so that he could make some money first. Later, when discussing the cigarette business, he wouldn't feel that he was owed. So he said, brother, I'll buy this watch. You name a price, and I won't bargain. Haha, brother, I'll take you to meet my uncle first. If our business can be settled, then this watch will be my gift to make a new friend. The Italian is now obviously more interested in the cigarette business, so he doesn't care about the value of this small watch. If he can use this watch to get a channel that can provide cigarettes for a long time, it will definitely be worth the money. It's my honor to visit your uncle. My name is Fang Language. I don't know what your name is. Seeing that the other party was unwilling to dwell too much on the watch, Fang Lang didn't say anything more. Since he had decided to meet his uncle and maintain long-term cooperation, Fang Lang decided to tell the other party his real name. Carlo Gambino, you can call me Carlo. I believe we will become brothers soon. I wonder if I can call you Fang. Fang Lang wanted to tell Carlo that the Chinese name should be Lang, but he thought that calling him Lang would sound frivolous, so he decided not to. Of course, Carlo, I believe we will become good brothers soon. I wonder what gift I should give to visit your uncle. Fang Lang knew that Italians like to give gifts to each other when they meet. Since he was going to visit an elder, Fang Lang had to have basic courtesy. Fang, it seems that you understand Italians very well. My uncle likes wine. We can just bring a bottle of wine. Italians never mind the value of gifts. They often look at preferences and needs. Carlo's uncle obviously has no shortage of gifts, so Carlo made a direct suggestion. Soon Fang Lang followed Carlo to his uncle's apartment. A young man in a suit opened the door. When he saw Carlo coming, he enthusiastically shook Carlo's hand and gave him a hug and touched his cheek. Haha. Carlo, how come my good brother has time to visit my home today? Hey, Nino, long time no see. Today I mainly want to bring a friend here to introduce to my uncle. After saying that, he pulled Fang Lang behind him and introduced him. This is the brother Fang Lang I met today. You can call him Fang. We want to introduce a big business to my uncle. I wonder if he is here. Nino looked at Fang Lang and saw that he was holding a bottle of wine in his hand. He extended his right hand enthusiastically and said, Fang, hello, I'm Nino Gambino, Carlo's cousin, and I'm very happy to meet you. Fang Lang also extended his right hand and shook hands with Nino. Nice to meet you, Nino. This is my first visit to my home. I brought a little gift. I hope you like it. Then he handed over the wine in his hand. Haha. Fang, I like your gift very much. I believe my father will like it too. Please come in. Then he welcomed Fang Lang into the room. Italians like to open gifts in person and express their gratitude. They think this is a respect for guests. This etiquette is also what Fang Lang learned in modern society. I didn't expect that I would have the opportunity to use it today. Soon everyone entered the room and greeted the family members one by one. In the end, only Uncle Carlo and his son, Fang Lang and Carlo were left sitting in the living room. After listening to Carlo's introduction, Carlo's uncle, Brazilian Gambino, was obviously very interested in this business. Fang, I wonder how many cigarettes you can provide. Brazilian Gambino went straight to the point. Mr. Gambino, I have limited funds now, so the first transaction may not be very large, that is, about $10,000 of goods. But in 2 months, I can provide goods worth millions of dollars. I wonder if you can take it. Fang Lang was very confident that he would become the captain of a Brazilian naval transport ship after returning from the United States. By then, the number of cigarettes he would bring back from a trip to Brazil would definitely be quite amazing. When several people heard Fang Lang's answer, they were all shocked. They didn't expect that he could provide such a large amount of goods. Several people knew that cigarettes had a lot of profits, but they were surprised that Fang Lang could transport such a large number of cigarettes. Fang Lang didn't want to explain his identity too much, just gave them a confident smile. But such a large amount obviously exceeded their share. Mr. Fang, please rest assured, we can handle the first 2 times by ourselves. If there is such a large amount later, please rest assured that we will use the power of our entire family and will never let our partners down. Brazilian Gambino assured Fang Lang firmly. Mr. Gambino, I wonder what your family is? Fang Lang found that the way of doing things of several people was obviously not like a serious businessman from the moment he entered the room. Instead, they had a strong gangster temperament. However, Fang Lang knew that the Italian mafia during World War II was severely cleaned up by Mussolini, which made Fang Lang not sure, so he tried to test it. Looking at Fang Lang's expression, several people knew what Fang Lang was thinking, because everyone on Earth knew that in addition to the army that liked to surrender, the most well-known specialty of Italy was the mafia. Several people's eyes were focused on the old man, Brazilian Gambino. Obviously, Nino and Carlo were asking whether they wanted to tell Fang Lang, but Fang Lang was waiting for his reply. The old man looked directly into Fang Lang's eyes and nodded gently, saying, "We will become real brothers, won't we?" Fang Lang knew that the mafia might still be the target of the Italian government, so when he saw the old man nodding instead of admitting it, he understood what he meant. Fang Lang didn't mind the other party's identity. The identity of the mafia was nothing to be afraid of. His identity was a soldier, and he believed that they would not dare to do anything excessive to him. As for the future, he could also support a Chinese gangster. Thinking of this, Fang Lang didn't say much. He stood up and stretched out his right hand and said, "Of course I believe we will become very close brothers. It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Gambino. The old man was also very happy to hear Fang Lang's answer. He stood up, stretched out his hand to hold Fang Lang's hand, gave him a hug, and kissed him on the cheek. He laughed and said, haha, we are already the closest brothers, aren't we? Carlo and Nano watched the two hug each other, and their tense bodies finally relaxed. They also stood up and shook hands with Fang Lang again. Chapter 7, Attracting Investment. When Fang Lang returned to the Charles Joss, Captain Cross looked at Fang Lang with surprise and asked, hey, Fang, why are you back empty-handed? Fang Lang certainly did not return empty-handed. He had a first-generation Patek Philippe perpetual calendar watch on his wrist. Fang Lang had the impression that this watch alone was limited to 4 pieces worldwide, and the auction price reached more than 70 million. This was a gift that Carlo had to give to Fang Lang. At Carlo's suggestion, Fang Lang spent $50 to buy 2 Luger P08 pistols, because according to Carlo's understanding, the Luger P08 pistol was very popular in the American collectibles market, but he couldn't tell the specific value. After considering it again and again, Fang Lang accepted his suggestion. Not to mention that there was an extra way to make money. Captain, I found pizza shops and pasta shops on the streets of Italy. I really don't know what to bring to the United States. After saying that, he shrugged and looked at Captain Cross helplessly. Haha. Fang, don't you find the beauties that are a specialty of the streets of Italy? Captain Cross began to joke with Fang Lang between men. Captain, I'm still young and have not discovered the difference between Italian girls and American girls. I think I need your personal demonstration and guidance. Obviously, women are always the most attractive among the topics between men. Without Fang Lang's answer, the crew around him began to talk about the difference between Italian beauties and American beauties. The atmosphere was so warm that Fang Lang quickly integrated into the team. In this way, time passed quickly and there was no conversation at night. The next morning, before it was completely bright, the Charles Joss Victory began to set sail, and Fang Lang also began his long-distance sailing life again after his rebirth. Captain Cross originally thought that the young Fang Lang was bragging when he said that he was capable of handling the shipping work of large ocean-going ships. However, when the first mate took Fang Lang and familiarized himself with the location and use of the equipment on the ship, Fang Lang's performance surprised all the sailors on the ship. He was almost competent for any role on the ship, as if he had rich work experience in every position. This made Captain Cross very satisfied and felt that he had finally found a kindred spirit. Because in Europe and the United States in this era, captains did not have to start from the grassroots sailors, step by step, like modern China, and had to take exams for each position before they could finally take the captain's qualification exam. Most captains directly received navigation majors in navigation schools and took management positions on board. As the chief engineer of an ocean-going container ship in modern society, Fang Lang had a captain's qualification certificate and needed to take turns on duty when the captain was resting. Captain Cross was an exception because he was black. In American society, even if you were better than white people, you could not enjoy the same treatment as white people. Therefore, he also started from the most basic sailor. Finally, through his own efforts and the shortage of captains during World War II, he had the opportunity to become a rare black captain. This made Cross like Fang Lang very much, although he had no chance to choose the route independently when following the escort fleet. When the two discussed, Fang Lang had a very rich reserve of navigation knowledge. There were many geographical knowledge such as seasons, climate, ocean currents, and weather that Cross had never heard of. He was also very proficient in the use of navigation equipment on the ship. He could use the sextant, compass, radio compass, astronomical clock and other equipment as soon as he picked them up. The longitude and latitude of the measured routes were very accurate. Fang Lang's navigation skills were unanimously recognized by the crew on board. After crossing the Strait of Gibraltar, he was directly assigned to take turns on duty. In fact, Fang Lang also had unfamiliar equipment, such as the anti-aircraft machine guns and anti-submarine guns on the ship. Whenever there was a chance, Fang Lang would go over and maintain these guns and artillery with the soldiers. After all, this was a man's romance. It was not known whether it was because the escort fleet was too large or because the Germans knew that this was an empty ship returning to the United States and had no attack value, so after 15 days of sailing, Fang Lang did not encounter an attack from the German Navy submarine force and arrived safely in New York, the largest port city on the east coast of the United States. During this period, the New York port was basically crowded with Liberty and Victory ships traveling to and from Europe. There was no berth available for other merchant ships, so basically all you saw in the port were American soldiers. Now, because it was a war period, in order to pursue the efficiency of loading ships, basically 3 shifts were used. The loading and unloading work at the port was basically a state of resting people and equipment, so the efficiency was very high. Originally, according to Fang Lang's understanding of bulk carriers such as the Victory, it would take about 10 days to fill a 7,000-ton Victory. As a result, Captain Cross told Fang Lang that they only had 3 days to load and unload materials and repair the ship in New York. In fact, Fang Lang had been observing Captain Cross and his men on the ship. After nearly half a month of getting along, Fang Lang felt that Captain Cross and his men were trustworthy. After repeated consideration, in order to maximize the benefits and expand the number of his single purchases, he decided to pull all the crew members into his plan, and of course he would not reveal everything. Just before the ship was about to dock, Fang Lang found Captain Cross and said seriously, "Captain, I wonder if we can talk alone." Cross looked at this outstanding young man, picked up the pipe in his hand, took a light sip, and nodded. "Of course, Fang, you can talk to me anytime, if you have anything on your mind." Although he didn't know what Captain Cross was thinking, Fang Lang knew that he must have misunderstood something, but he didn't care. "Captain, after spending half a month together, you have not treated me as an outsider at all. I'm very grateful. To thank you for your care during this period, I have a small business that may make you a small fortune. I wonder if you are interested." Hearing that Fang Lang could make everyone a small fortune, he was moved and said with a smile, "Fang, of course we will not refuse anything that can make money. I wonder if you can tell me what it is specifically. Things that violate military discipline are not allowed, but everything else is fine. I wonder if it is a violation of military discipline to bring some personal belongings on board." Fang Lang's answer made Captain Cross feel relieved. Seeing that this kid suddenly wanted to talk to him alone when he was about to dock, he thought he was going to do something illegal. It turned out that he wanted to smuggle some goods. "I think American soldiers can do things like transporting drugs using military aircraft. You smuggled some personal belongings on the ship and made it so mysterious, which scared people. Of course, no problem. You can take as many as you want. But what do you mean by taking us to get rich together? I have a way to make money. If you invest $100 now, I will purchase the goods and help you transport them to Italy for processing. I guarantee you 3 times the profit. I wonder if you are interested." Fang Lang would not tell them the real profit. For such a lucrative business, the fewer people who know about it, the better. Hearing Fang Lang say that there is a threefold profit, Cross's eyes widened. Not every business has such a high profit. "Fang, are you serious?" Cross said seriously. "Of course, you don't have to worry about anything. Invest in me, I will go to purchase, you help me transport, and I will sell. I guarantee 3 times the profit, and I will cover it if it is not enough. If it goes well this time, you will help me purchase and transport to the destination in the future, and I will pay you 3 times the price. How about it?" Fang Lang also looked straight into Cross's eyes and said seriously, "Maybe some people would think, don't these crew members know the market price of cigarettes on the battlefield? Why not purchase and sell them by themselves? In fact, the main place where the cigarette market is booming is on the frontline battlefield. The crew members on the Navy's transport fleet basically have no time to stay in the war zone, and they are constantly transporting supplies back and forth. During the short stay in the war zone, most American soldiers will look for women. After all, soldiers in wartime are like putting their heads on their belts, and every extra day they live is earned, so not many people can think about making money in this situation. However, there will definitely be some black market merchants who will find these crew members to buy cigarettes, but merchants will want to make money and will not let these soldiers make too much, So Fang Lang's promise of 3 times the profit will definitely allow all the crew members to participate. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 Chinatown. Can everyone participate? If there is an investment project that can bring 3 times the profit to the whole ship, and Cross refuses it, then once the crew knows about it, Cross may no longer be able to command these crew members. Of course, this is to thank everyone for taking care of me. As long as everyone on our ship can invest, I will record how much each person has invested. After the goods arrive at the port, I will directly return 3 times the investment. I also only accept investment from our crew members. Do you understand what I mean? Fang Lang certainly hopes that the more people who invest, the better, and the larger the amount, the better. But if this is said by himself, others may doubt whether it is a scam. So Fang Lang deliberately guided Cross to think that this opportunity is very precious, just to thank the crew for their care and make everyone rich. What if my friends are interested too? Cross obviously thought of a way to expand his own income. Sorry, I only accept investment from our crew members. As for the amount of investment by the crew members, it depends on their own financial situation. Fang Lang was also worried that, if he invested too much, there would not be enough space to store the purchased cigarettes. Because the amount of cargo on the ship is planned by the Naval Logistics Department, not by the ship itself. Thank you. I understand. I will gather all the crew members and inform everyone of this good news. Captain Cross obviously fully understood Fang Lang's idea. Soon the good news spread on the ship and everyone was very excited. People kept coming to ask Fang Lang if there was really such a good thing. Fang Lang also gave affirmative answers one by one because many people said that they did not have so much cash on them and hoped that Fang Lang could give them time to raise funds. In the end, Fang Lang agreed to extend the investment deadline to 24 hours after arriving at the port, and everyone left with satisfaction. Originally, after the ship docked, because the ship had to load and unload cargo and repair the ship, all people could only take turns to rest for 1 day, but everyone took into account that Fang Lang's big business needed to operate, so they unanimously agreed not to let Fang Lang be on duty. At the same time, considering that everyone has the need to raise funds, all the crew members on the ship will be divided into 2 groups on the first day to take turns to go ashore for half a day to raise funds. After the Charles Joss docked, Fang Lang and the first group of crew members who disembarked could not wait to rush into New York City. Although New York of this era was not as prosperous as in later generations, it was already one of the few metropolises of this era. Walking on the crowded streets, Fang Lang had a sense of alienation, as if he had traveled through time and space. Standing in the middle of the street and watching the crowds passing by, Fang Lang suddenly shouted, "New York, here I come." The passers-by around him were so scared that they thought he was a lunatic and hid far away. The behavior of the people around him had no effect on Fang Lang at all. Fang Lang ran wildly in the middle of the street with laughter like a lunatic, venting the emotions that had been suppressed in his heart since he traveled through time. It was not until 2 policemen stepped forward to block his way that Fang Lang recovered. Fortunately, the police saw that the military uniform on his body was the uniform of the US military. Although they did not understand which unit his armband belonged to, they did not embarrass him. As a Chinese, since he had arrived in New York, the first place he could think of was Chinatown. So Fang Lang went directly to Chinatown. The first thing he had to do was to find a channel to sell the 2-lugger P-08S in his hands in exchange for funds. Although he believed that he could raise a lot of funds from the crew, the more funds he had, the better. Just as he was still blindly looking for a channel to sell in Chinatown, a young Chinese man in a slightly worn-out grey plaid suit took the initiative to come forward and greet Fang Language. "Hey. Hello, sir. Is this your first time in Chinatown?" Won Changson had seen from a distance that this Chinese man in military uniform had been walking aimlessly in Chinatown for a long time, and it was obviously his first time in Chinatown. As a new broker, that is, an intermediary, this was obviously his target customer. Although several colleagues had seen this customer, but did not come forward to say hello, Won Chang-sin understood that everyone was concerned about the soldiers, but as a newcomer, if he could not seize this opportunity, he and his sister might go hungry tomorrow, so he finally plucked up the courage to come forward and talk to him. Hearing someone speaking Mandarin with a distinct Minnan accent talking to him, Fang Lang felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. He finally heard the familiar Mandarin again. Yes, it's my first time in New York. Although everyone is Chinese, not everyone outside is like fellow villagers meeting each other with tears in their eyes. So Fang Lang still maintained a certain degree of vigilance and just answered lightly. Sir, don't worry, I'm not a bad person. I'm an agent, that is, the original pawnbroker. I saw that it seems like your first time here. I wonder if there is anything I can help you with. Seeing Fang Lang's obviously vigilant eyes, Won Chang-sin hurriedly explained. Hearing that it was an agent, Fang Lang nodded and smiled. I do need some help. I wonder how much you charge. It depends on what kind of service you need. If you just need someone to show you the way, you can give 10 cents. If you need to rent a house or do business, we will charge a commission, based on the amount. When Won Chang-sin heard that Fang Lang really needed help, the stone in his heart fell to the ground, and he and his sister had a living expense for tomorrow. He looked carefully at the young man in front of him. Both his accent and appearance proved that he was Chinese. His old grey plaid suit, which was so old that the original color could not be seen, and the frayed cuffs showed that the young man's family conditions were not very good. He wore such thin clothes in the cold season, and his slightly unconfident expression also showed that he was not a successful businessman. Fang Lang did not mind helping these fellow countrymen in a foreign country. He said, I have 2 German Luger pistols, and I heard from my American comrades that this kind of thing can be sold for a good price in the United States. If I ask you to help me find a high quality buyer, how much money do you need as a handling fee? Sir, if it is a business, we normally charge 1% of the transaction amount. But you are a soldier, and the spoils obtained on the battlefield are earned with your life. I will take 0.5%. Is that okay with you? I promise that the buyer I find for you is not a middleman, and will be able to give you a satisfactory price. You can go to the street and ask a few people about the handling fee. No one will quote you a lower price than me. If Fang Lang went to find a buyer himself, he was sure he would find one, but it would certainly take a little longer. However, Fang Lang's time was very tight, and he had no time to waste looking for buyers. In addition, Fang Lang felt that the offer was not too high, so he nodded and said, okay, if you can satisfy me this time, I don't mind introducing you to a bigger business. Won Chang-sin was overjoyed when he saw Fang Lang nod in agreement. If he wanted him to introduce a buyer of other goods, he might not be able to do it. However, he happened to know a very powerful buyer for the collection of arms and weapons. Thank you for your trust. I will take you there now. Please follow me. Won Chang-sin said as he led Fang Lang out of Chinatown. On the way, he did not forget to introduce the buyer to Fang language. It turned out that the arms and weapons collector he knew was the father of his sister Wonzin, a veteran of World War I, who now runs a taxi company and is quite powerful. According to his sister, this person offered a reward of $50 for finding a Ruger P08 artillery pistol. Her classmates also searched everywhere on his father's birthday, hoping to give it to his father as a birthday gift, but unfortunately they never found it. Now Fang Lang's arrival is simply a match made in heaven. Although I don't know if the Luger P08 in Fang Lang's hand is an artillery model, at least it is an authentic Luger P08, right? Chapter 9 Selling Guns. Mr. Valentine, this is the seller I mentioned. Mr. Fang Lang, a soldier who just returned from the European battlefield. You can call him Fang. Won Chang-sin took Fang Lang to a luxury apartment outside Chinatown and found Mr. Stellan Valentine in front of him. After Won Chang-sin's explanation, Mr. Valentine warmly welcomed the two into the living room of the bedroom. Fang Lang could see from Mr. Valentine's surprised expression that he was indeed a collector who knew the goods. Mr. Fang, thank you for standing up when the world needs you. You can call me Valentine. Valentine extended his hand enthusiastically and shook hands with Fang Lang and expressed his gratitude for Fang Lang's identity as an allied soldier. Unfortunately, Fang Lang was not enthusiastic about the so-called standing up when the world needed him. Fighting the Germans in Europe was not his wish. It would be better if he could fight the Japanese to the death on the Asian battlefield. So Fang Lang did not want to have too much communication with this World War I veteran on this topic. He just wanted to quickly end the transaction and seize the time to start his subsequent plans. So after shaking hands, he took out two Luger P08s wrapped in holsters from his backpack, placed them on the coffee table and said, "Hello, Mr. Valentine, nice to meet you. These are the two Luger P08s that I got with great difficulty. You can appreciate them carefully. I hope you will be satisfied." Valentine did not mind Fang Lang's directness. His eyes had already been deeply attracted by the two pistols on the table. His hands touched the leather holsters like stroking the delicate skin of a lover. Fang Lang and Wan Shangxin sat quietly on the side, waiting for the buyer to inspect the goods. Obviously, Valentine really liked the Luger P08. He took the two pistols in his hands, played with them over and over again, and disassembled and reassembled them. After a long while, he reluctantly put the gun back on the table and said, "Fang, I believe one has told you that I once offered a reward for the Ruger P08, so I really like these two pistols. I wonder how much you would like to pay?" "Mr. Valentine, I'm really sorry, because I don't know much about collecting, so I can't give an accurate quote, but you can tell me a price, and if I think it's appropriate, we can make a deal. Is that okay with you?" Fang Lang was telling the truth. He really didn't know the value of the pistol, and he bought it at the strong suggestion of Carlo Gambino. However, he was not completely unfamiliar with price negotiations, and he could test Valentine's price through his quote, as long as it was not too far from his expectations. He would rather spend his time on purchasing cigarettes. "Fang, let's do this. I know that the price of the standard Luger P08 on the market is about $500. If you are willing, I will buy your two Luger pistols for $1,200. How about that? This is $200 higher than the market price. No one should be able to offer a higher price than me." Valentine thought for a while before speaking. "Mr. Valentine, you also said that $500 is the price of the standard model, but are you sure you have seen my two pistols clearly? Mine are not standard models." If Fang Lang really sees them on the battlefield, he might have been fooled by Valentine. Unfortunately, Fang Lang bought these two pistols on the black market for $50. There are still a lot of standard Luger P08s on the black market, and the price is cheaper than the two he bought. So Fang Lang knew that Valentine thought he didn't understand the situation and wanted to take advantage of him. "Ah, is that so? Let me take a closer look." Valentine was not embarrassed when he heard Fang Lang's answer, as if he really had made a mistake, and picked up the two Luger P08s again to check. Fang Lang knew from Valentine's attitude that he didn't want to show his cards directly and wanted to haggle over the price with Fang language. However, Fang Lang didn't want to waste time with Valentine here, so he said directly, "Mr. Valentine, the long-barreled P08 in your left hand is the artillery type, and the short-barreled one in your right hand is the Navy type. These two Rugers are relatively rare types, especially the Navy type, which should still be a very rare type in the US market, so I hope that we can all quote a suitable price openly. If the deal can be made, that would be the best. If not, I will look for the next buyer." "Okay. Fang, you are right. These two Rugers are indeed different from the standard ones I have seen. I wonder what your price is." Since Fang Lang has already explained the specific situation of the guns, it is obvious that he has some information about the guns, so Valentine tried again. "Mr. Valentine, do you want one or both?" Fang Lang stopped talking nonsense. "If the price is right, I would like to have both. If you want both, my offer is $3,000. I wonder if you can accept it." "Oh my god. Fang, your offer is too high. No one will accept such a high price. This is just a mass-produced industrial product. Even if it has a certain collection value, it is not so high," Mr. Valentine said with an expression of disbelief. Since Mr. Valentine feels that this price is unacceptable, we can only see if there are any buyers who really know the goods. Thank you for entertaining Mr. Valentine. Fang Lang saw Valentine's expression and did not want to entangle with him. He stood up and wanted to put the pistol on the table back into his backpack. As a businessman, Valentine obviously did not encounter such an opponent who would retreat directly after a disagreement. He quickly stood up and said, "Fang, don't be impulsive. When we do business, we always have to negotiate the price. Let's sit down and have a cup of coffee and then talk about it, okay?" "Mr. Valentine, there's no need for coffee. I'm not a businessman, I'm a soldier. If you are really interested in the Ruger I have, I suggest you don't beat around the bush. It's best to give a price that matches its value. If I think it's appropriate, we can just make a deal, okay?" Haha. Okay. As a veteran of World War I, we are all soldiers, so let's be direct. I can accept a price of $2,000. This offer doesn't sound like something a veteran would make, Mr. Valentine. You were already prepared to spend $1,200 to purchase two standard models. But this is an artillery model and a precious Navy model. I don't think this price really matches the value of these two Rugers. I'll give another $200. This is my final bottom price, $2,800. If you can accept it, we'll make a deal. If not, I'll see if Mr. Won can help me find a new buyer. If that doesn't work, I'll just have to carry it myself for self-defense. Fang Lang knew that Valentine's offer of $1,200 was because he thought Fang Lang didn't know the goods, so he brought out this offer again to disgust Valentine. "Fang, $2,500. This price is definitely worthy of their value. No problem, I will pay in cash now." Valentine looked painful. "Mr. Valentine," I said, "I'm a soldier. $2,800. If you can accept it, we will make a deal. Since you can't accept it, then I can only look for the next buyer." After saying that, he turned to Won Changxin, who had been silent beside him, and said, "Mr. Won, I think you should hurry up to help me find the next buyer. I don't know if you have a qualified customer." Seeing Fang Lang put the gun into his backpack, Won Changxin, who stood up, also stood up and said, "Mr. Fang, of course no problem. I can continue to take you to find another very powerful buyer now." Although he wanted to make a deal directly, the two sides could not reach an agreement, so he could only stand on Fang Lang's side because the goods were in his hands. If he was not there, he would have no chance to get the agency fee. Seeing that the two were about to give up the deal without even turning their heads, Valentine could only say at the last moment, "Okay, Fang, you win. Although your offer is really high, who told me that I really like these two good things? $2,800 for the deal." Fang Lang heard that Valentine finally agreed to the deal at $2,800, and he was delighted. He turned around and said calmly, "Believe me, Mr. Valentine, this deal is definitely worth the money, and you won't regret it." Seeing the two people holding hands tightly together, Won Changxin also breathed a sigh of relief, because as a rookie who had just entered the industry, he couldn't find so many buyers for a while. He had thought about it. If the deal could not be completed, he could only share the profits with another intermediary to find new customers. Fortunately, Valentine finally agreed to the deal, so that he could not only get the agency fee, but also get a $50 reward from Mr. Valentine. This is a lot of money. At least for a month, he and his sister don't have to worry about food anymore. Chapter 10 Starting a Business. In a Sichuan restaurant in Chinatown, Fang Lang and Won Changxin were feasting on 3 dishes and 1 soup on the table. After completing the transaction, Fang Lang said he would treat Won Changxin to a good meal. Of course, Won Changxin would not refuse such a good thing. "Mr. Fang, you said you have another big business to take care of me. I wonder if you can tell me what it is now." For this transaction, Won Changxin directly received a brokerage fee of $14 from Fang Lang, plus the $50 reward from Mr. Valentine, a total of $64, which is equivalent to the salary of an ordinary American worker for 2 months. Won Changxin is already very satisfied. If he can get another business, it will be even better. "Mr. Won, I wonder how much you earn every month now." Originally, Fang Lang was also considering whether to find a tobacco dealer to directly purchase a batch of cigarettes, or let this business become a long-term business. If it is a long-term business, Fang Lang must ensure that there are dedicated people in the United States and Italy to be responsible for it, and it is best to be able to operate it as a company. Originally, the biggest problem was that Fang Lang didn't have the manpower to take charge of the business development on both sides, but Wan Xiangxin's performance this time still satisfied Fang Lang, so he wanted to give him a chance. Well, Mr. Fang, to be honest, I won't hide it from you. This deal I helped you to reach is my first pot of gold. I used to do some odd jobs and didn't have a formal job, so I didn't have a fixed income. This question made Wan Xiangxin a little embarrassed, but he didn't hide anything and told the truth. Then if I set up an import and export trading company in the United States, how about you come to work for me? Aren't you a soldier? Do you still have time to do business? I'm not an American soldier. What does it matter? If I work for you, what do I need to be responsible for? How much is the salary? Wan Xiangxin's choice to be an intermediary was also a last resort. If he could have a stable income, he certainly wouldn't mind. You just need to help me purchase the goods I need according to my requirements, transport them to the warehouse for storage and management, and then hand them over to the person I arranged to receive them. The weekly salary is $8, and if you do a good job, you will get a bonus. Wan Xiangxin thought about it for a while, then nodded and agreed. No problem. I'm very happy to work for you. Fang Lang was also very happy to hear Wan Xiangxin agreed. This means that there will be a dedicated person in the United States to be responsible for purchasing in the future. Even if he does not come to the United States next time, he can let Wan Xiangxin notify him after purchasing. He will arrange Captain Cross and others to help smuggle the goods to Italy and set up a branch company in Italy to be responsible for receiving the goods and selling them to the Gambino family. Wouldn't there be a complete trade route in this way? Okay, then you will get familiar with the tobacco market in the United States with me today. Tomorrow I will set up an import and export trading company and sign a formal employment contract with you. In this way, Fang Lang, accompanied by Wan Xiangxin, spent an afternoon visiting tobacco dealers in the United States. He learned that the main cigarettes sold in the market are Lucky Strike cigarettes of British American Tobacco Company and Camel cigarettes of Reynolds Tobacco Company. What surprised Fang Lang was that Marlboro cigarettes stopped supplying the market for some reason. After agreeing to meet at Wan Xiangxin's house the next day, Fang Lang returned to the Charles Joseph Dark. At this time, everyone on the ship had arrived and was loading and unloading goods while discussing enthusiastically how much money you raised and how much money I borrowed. Everyone greeted Fang Lang very enthusiastically when they saw him coming back. Fang Lang also responded enthusiastically one by one and told everyone that he would collect everyone's investment tomorrow morning and let everyone take turns to find him at breakfast tomorrow. After getting a clear answer, everyone stopped surrounding Fang Lang. Fang Lang went to Captain Cross to discuss whether he could introduce him to a few other captains. Captain, what I mean is that if my business is successful this time, then every time you travel across the Atlantic Ocean, you can organize your crew to raise funds or go to the place I give you to pick up the goods individually. Then I will arrange people at the port in Italy to directly receive the goods you transport at 3 times the price and turn this business into a long-term business. What do you think? Fang, of course, no problem. You are creating income for all of us. How can we refuse? Captain Cross smiled and stroked his beard. If you are familiar with other captains of the fleet, you can also let them participate. The larger the quantity of goods I need, the better. Oh, is it really okay? But we'd better keep a low profile on this kind of thing. If we do too much, it may attract the attention of the military police, which will be very troublesome. Although Captain Cross was very happy, he still warned Fang Lang in a vigilant voice. Fang Lang also remembered Captain Cross's warning and couldn't help thinking that it seemed that he had to get closer to Brigadier General Near Jackson, otherwise he would be very passive when he was investigated. There was no conversation that night. Before dawn the next day, the crew dragged Fang Lang out of the warm bed. Fang Lang could only pick up the notebooks one by one and record in detail how much each person invested. When everyone's investment was finally concentrated in Fang Lang's backpack, Fang Lang was also surprised. With his own funds, he actually raised $55,000 US. This amount greatly exceeded Fang Lang's expectations. He thought that $30,000 would be an astronomical figure. He didn't expect these American soldiers to be able to raise such a large amount. After getting the investment, Fang Lang took his weapons, carefully put on his backpack, found one chunks in, and went to the American company registration office together to register a company called Global Trade Import and Export Co. Limited. Arrange one chunks in to rent a warehouse near the dock as an office and storage location. He started purchasing cigarettes without stopping. Because it was the first time to purchase, Fang Lang had to do it himself to understand the market price and avoid being embezzled by the purchasing staff in the future. In this way, all the goods were finally transported to the warehouse on the next morning. Looking at the full warehouse of cigarettes, Fang Lang began to feel troubled. The cigarettes were not big, but they took up space. Wouldn't it be embarrassing if they couldn't be transported? Fang Lang had no choice but to bring Captain Cross to confirm the quantity of the goods. Captain Cross was also stunned by so many cigarettes. There was no place on the ship to load so many cigarettes. How could this be smuggling? In the end, there was really no way, so he could only transport all the goods to the ship first. After all, this was a business invested by all the crew members. In this way, when the Charles Joss finally set sail, almost every corner was filled with cigarettes, and even the crew's lounge was filled with goods. Fortunately, this was the common property of all the crew members, otherwise it might be thrown into the sea by everyone halfway. Especially when crossing the Atlantic, the fleet was attacked by German naval submarines. But overall, it crossed the Atlantic Ocean and returned to Italy without any danger. On the way back, the US military lost more than 10 victory ships, but fortunately, the Charles Joss returned to the port of Naples smoothly. Chapter 11 Gift Giving. When the first rays of sunlight in the morning shone into Naples, Italy, a figure wearing a suit, a top hat, and wrapped tightly in a scarf knocked on the door of Gambino's apartment. After seeing Fang Lang's face revealed by pulling open the scarf through the crack of the door, Nino, who was inside the door, let go of the pistol behind him and let Fang Lang in. "Dear Fang, you are finally back. Please come in quickly. Why are you dressed like this today? I thought you were a spy meeting. It made me very nervous." Nino Gambino joked as he opened the door. "Haha, Nino, my friend." Fang Lang took the initiative to hug Nino warmly and walked into the room. "Dear Fang, welcome home." Gambino also came over to hug Fang Lang and welcomed him into the study. "Mr. Gambino, there was an accident this time, so I came here to talk to you first." Fang Lang got straight to the point. "What? An accident?" Nino thought the business was not going to be done and shouted anxiously. "Nino, when will you learn to calm down? Can you let Fang finish his words?" Gambino said calmly. The Gambino family didn't invest any money, so even if something unexpected happened, they wouldn't lose anything, so why should they be nervous? "Haha, Nino. Don't worry, it's a good thing. The amount of goods coming back this time is quite large, so you may have to notify other members of the family to digest it together." Fang Lang smiled and didn't mind at all. "Oh, I don't know how much it is. We have raised $400,000 during this period. Can't we eat your goods?" Gambino said calmly. It was agreed that the first time would be about $10,000 of goods, and the family prepared more than 400,000, but still couldn't eat your goods. "I'm sorry, Mr. Gambino, I didn't think enough at first, and only thought about trading with my own funds, but now I have received a large investment, so the actual value of the goods that arrived this time is nearly 1.4 million. I don't know if you can eat it yourself." This is indeed Fang Lang himself did not make a good plan, and at the beginning he only thought about trading with his own capital. Later on the ship, he thought of raising funds to expand his own funds. "What? Are you sure there are 1.4 million worth of goods arriving at the port?" Gambino was also shocked when he heard the number reported by Fang language. Nino on the side was even more surprised and almost jumped up. Although Fang Lang's profit is very high, if their Gambino family transports cigarettes to the front line, they will get a bigger profit. Of course, they are delighted to hear such a large amount. "Yes, this time I have attracted the investment of a big man. In the future, we will have a steady stream of goods shipped to Naples." So, as long as you prepare the funds, we will arrange the Navy's transport ships to transport cigarettes to Naples in batches. When dealing with the Mafia, Fang Lang has to be careful. At this time, if he tells the other party that he has a bigger figure behind him to support him, they will be considerate of whatever they do next, and at least they should not worry about being robbed by the black. Hearing Fang Lang's words, Gambino and his son looked at each other, and Mr. Gambino slowly said, "Fang, I didn't expect you to attract investment from a big military figure. It seems that this business will grow bigger and bigger. Let's do this. I will notify other members of the family immediately, and I will raise $1.4 million before dark. How about our deal tonight? Okay, you organize the truck tonight, and my boss will get the pass. Then I will take you directly to the warehouse at the military dock to pick up the goods." Although Fang Lang has not solved the warehouse problem yet, he has thought of how to get the warehouse. After all, his current identity is a logistics officer of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force Navy, although he has not yet reported to the Brazilian Expeditionary Force. After the two agreed on the specific delivery time and details, Fang Lang hurriedly left Gambino's apartment. After changing into a military uniform and returning to the barracks, he went directly to the office of Brigadier General Neil Jackson, the logistics chief of the US 4th Fleet, to report. Report to the general. Lieutenant Fang Lang of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force has completed the assessment and is here to report. Fang Lang stood in front of Brigadier General Jackson's desk, waiting for Brigadier General Jackson to check his assessment form. Not to mention that Fang Lang showed excellent ability on the ship. Just to say that Fang Lang made money with Captain Cross, the score on the assessment form would not be low. "Young man, it seems that you are doing very well. Our Captain Cross has a very high opinion of you." "Good. That's good. John also asked me to take good care of his life benefactor. Judging from the situation, you don't need to take care of it at all. I believe that with your ability, you will soon stand out in the army." Brigadier General Jackson's attitude this time was obviously better than the first time they met. Obviously, the results of this assessment allowed Brigadier General Jackson to arrange Fang Lang's work without worrying about other people's gossip. This is simply discovering a rare talent for the Brazilian Expeditionary Force. I don't know what the lazy people in the Brazilian Expeditionary Force recruitment office think, transferring an excellent naval captain to the army infantry as a soldier. Thank you for your support, General. John has mentioned you to me a long time ago. We were in a hurry last time and didn't have time to bring a gift, which caused you a lot of trouble. I'm really sorry. This time I found a gift that is very suitable for your status. I hope you like it. In order to get through the relationship with the US Navy, Fang Lang took out the Patek Philippe watch given to him by Carlo from his pocket and put it on General Jackson's desk. Although Fang Lang himself liked this watch very much, in order to seize the time to gain a foothold in the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, he had to make Brigadier General Jackson his backer, instead of relying solely on John's relationship to maintain his relationship with the Brigadier General. Brigadier General Jackson was stunned when he saw Fang Lang put a watch on the table and wanted to refuse. As a naval brigadier general, he would not lack a watch, but when he saw the dial of the watch, his eyes widened, his pupils shrank, and he said in a lost voice, "Patek Philippe 1518 perpetual calendar." He reached out to pick it up and take a closer look. After quickly realizing that he had lost his composure, he quickly withdrew his hand and said calmly, "Fang, what are you doing?" Fang Lang saw the performance of Brigadier General Jackson and knew that he had met someone who knew the goods. Fortunately, he did not meet someone who did not know the goods. If he accepted the watch as an ordinary watch, he would have lost a lot. "Uncle Jackson, you are John's uncle, which means my uncle. As a junior, isn't it reasonable for me to bring a little gift to visit you? This is a good time to improve the relationship." Fang Lang immediately changed the relationship between superiors and subordinates into an uncle-nephew relationship. As long as Brigadier General Jackson accepted the watch, it would be equivalent to recognizing this uncle-nephew relationship, and many things would be easier to handle in the future. "Haha. You little guy, you are really amazing. I didn't expect John to make a friend like you. Okay. Tell me, what do you want me to do for you with such an expensive gift?" Jackson obviously wanted to treat this gift as a transaction, but Fang Lang didn't care. Sometimes the relationship of interest is often more stable than the relationship between uncle and nephew. As long as they can continue to bring benefits to both sides, I believe that the relationship between the two will soon be further developed. Uncle Jackson, you said last time that you would arrange for me to be the captain of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force's transport ship. I wonder if I can buy another ship from you to run transportation. Since Fang Lang has already called Uncle Jackson, he will not change back easily. That's right, your Expeditionary Commander General Mascarius de Moraes has approached me many times, hoping to have his own transport ship to transport some of the remains and spoils of the fallen soldiers of the Expeditionary Army back to the country. So my plan is to arrange for you to be the captain. Hearing General Jackson's plan, Fang Lang had no objection. Although it would be a bit uncomfortable to transport the remains, he could imagine that the Brazilian Expeditionary Force was talking about transporting the remains and spoils back to the country. By then, it is estimated that the possibility of the ship being full of spoils will be relatively high, and the remains are probably just talk. Chapter 12 Buying a ship. Are you serious about buying another ship for transport? The current route is very dangerous. German submarines are elusive. If there is no fleet escort, it will be easily sunk. Brigadier General Jackson was surprised when he heard Fang Lang's idea of buying a transport ship. I plan to move my transport ship with the escort fleet, which will be safer. I wonder if Uncle Jackson has any suitable ships to sell to me now. Fang Lang knew that it was not impossible to buy ships outside, but the price of buying captured ships from Brigadier General Jackson would definitely be cheaper than buying them directly on the market. We do have a few transport ships captured from the enemy now, but the tonnage is not as large as a Liberty ship, and the largest load is only 5,000 tons. If you are sure you want to buy it, I will ask my subordinates to check it for you and select a suitable ship for you. But the price of the ship is not cheap. At least $50,000 per ship. Brigadier General Jackson naturally had no objection to Fang Lang buying the transport ships from the US military. Now, due to the shortage of US military crews, some transport ships are idle. The US military did not dare to use Italian crews, firstly because they were afraid that spies would sneak into the fleet and pass fleet information to the Germans, and secondly because the Italians were resistant to fleets that participated in military purposes. Uncle Jackson is so kind. Can you buy one ship for $50,000? Then I want 3 first, and I will pay $55,000 for each ship, of which $50,000 will be paid to the US Navy Department, and the other $5,000 will be paid to Mrs. Jackson's private account by Global Trade Import and Export Co. Limited in the United States as consulting fees. Although a second-hand freighter at $50,000 is not particularly cheap, Fang Lang can further deepen his relationship with Commodore Jackson by purchasing a freighter, and he will not give up such a good opportunity. Commodore Jackson obviously did not expect Fang Lang to have such a show, and he obviously did not know how to respond for a while. After a long while, he looked at Fang Lang deeply and said, "If you buy 3 ships, it will really help us reduce a lot of burdens. How about this? I will decide to lower the price to $45,000 per ship for a 5,000-ton ship. Thank you, Uncle Jackson, for taking care of my nephew. In this case, I will pay $45,000 to the US Navy Department for each ship, and Mrs. Jackson's consulting fee is $10,000. I don't know if Uncle Jackson thinks it is appropriate." Fang Lang heard Commodore Jackson's answer and obviously agreed with his idea. This is much simpler. As long as Commodore Jackson accepts the consulting fee this time, then many things will be easy to solve in the future. The consulting fee of $10,000 per ship is too high. Let's go with 5,000. We can't let you suffer too much. It's not easy for young people to start a business. I will arrange for the Navy to select the latest and best 3 ships to deliver to you, and will conduct a comprehensive inspection of your ship and hand it over to you after filling it with fuel. Commodore Jackson is obviously a good partner who will do things for money. He is very considerate. Anyway, he doesn't have to pay for these things. The US government will pay for them. Thank you so much, Uncle Jackson. I wonder if I can have a warehouse of my own in the Navy warehouse. I have some goods that need to be stored, but I'm worried that it's not safe to leave them outside, so I want to rent a warehouse in the Navy warehouse to store the goods. This kind of trivial matter is nothing to Brigadier General Jackson. He directly arranged for Fang Lang. I will notify our Navy Logistics to allocate an extra warehouse to your Brazilian Expeditionary Force, but this warehouse will not be notified to your Brazilian Expeditionary Force. You will sign for it on behalf of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force Navy. Do you understand, Uncle Jackson? I also hope that you can continue to help me keep an eye out for some high quality ships. You can rest assured that I will pay for each ship at the current price. In addition, I wonder if you can provide 5 passes to facilitate our vehicles to enter and exit the barracks and transport goods. Fang Lang's demand for ships is naturally the more the better. After the end of World War II, the economy will recover rapidly. The United States will soon start the Marshall Plan for Europe to help Europe rebuild its economic order. At this time, having a large fleet in hand will make Fang Lang rich. In this way, Fang Lang quickly reached a strategic partnership with Brigadier General Jackson. After leaving the office, Fang Lang went directly to the logistics storage area and received a warehouse that nominally belonged to the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, but actually belonged to him. The warehouse area was more than 1,000 square meters, and the height of the warehouse was more than 10 meters. When Fang Lang and the crew of the Charles Joss moved all the goods into the warehouse, they could not fill a quarter of the warehouse. When Bodge and Gambino and others drove 5 trucks and followed Fang Lang into the military restricted area, the shock in their hearts was unintentional, and they did not dare to have any bad thoughts. After completing the transaction, the Gambino family directly deposited $1 million into Fang Lang's account at the Bank of America. The predecessor of the Bank of America was the Bank of Italy in 1904. It was renamed the Bank of America after merging with the Bank of America of California in the United States in 1929. Therefore, it is very convenient to carry out deposit and withdrawal business in the United States and Italy. The remaining $375,000 was delivered to Fang Lang in cash. When Fang Lang placed more than $150,000 in front of the crew of the Charles Joss, the impact on the crew was unprecedented, especially among them were several captains of other ships invited by Captain Cross. When Fang Lang returned 3 times the profit to the crew according to the crew list, the atmosphere reached a climax. Brothers, thank you for your support in this business. We have achieved a complete victory. Because I have completed the assessment of the ship, I can't go through life and death with you on the same ship in the future. But I will not forget my friendship with you, nor will I forget your help to me. Therefore, I decided to share this channel of making money with everyone. I don't know if you want it. After distributing the profits, Fang Lang began an exciting speech. Of course, the purpose was to let the crew continue to give him a steady supply of cigarettes. I want it, I want it. Everyone shouted in unison, and the sound was about to break through the deck. Fang Lang quickly pressed his hands down, signaling everyone to keep a low profile. After everyone's voices died down, he said, I know that everyone is very excited and wants to get rich, but I still want to make it clear to everyone. First of all, we are smuggling the goods to Italy for sale, so everyone should be low-key and not attract the attention of the gendarmerie and the bigwigs of the Navy. Second, because this kind of carrying of goods requires everyone to bear the risks themselves, just like this time, you all have to pay for it yourself, and after getting the pickup certificate from the Italian branch of Global Trade Import and Export Co. Limited, go to the New York port office of the headquarters of New York Global Trade Import and Export Co. Limited, to pick up the goods. The amount of goods to be picked up is determined by everyone's own economic strength and transportation strength. After being transported to Italy, all the goods will be stored in the warehouse of Global Trade Company in the storage area of the dock. After inspection, you can directly obtain 3 times the purchase price. Does everyone understand? Understood. But we don't know where these 2 companies are. We are very tight on time, and we don't have much time to look for the addresses of these 2 companies everywhere. Someone spoke soon. This time, I will help you deliver the Italian branch's bill of lading to the dock later. As for the New York dock office, it is also easy to find. You can see it more than 100 meters after leaving the dock. Of course, if you don't want to find it even after more than 100 meters, then you can only watch your brothers get rich. Money is not for you. Everyone laughed. Now Fang Lang only needs to register a branch in Italy and recruit good personnel, which means he has built a cigarette import and export channel from the United States to Italy. When his own fleet grows up in the later stage, this company will take off rapidly. Chapter 13. Meeting Lilith again. The next morning, Fang Lang came to Commodore Jackson's office again. Under the leadership of Commodore Jackson's adjutant, he signed a ship purchase contract with the US Navy Department and paid the ship price of $135,000 to the account of the US Navy Department. After completing the formalities, Fang Lang returned to Commodore Jackson's office again. Fang, you have to hurry up with your personal affairs. I have informed the commander of your Brazilian Expeditionary Force that we will assign a transport ship to your Brazilian Expeditionary Force, and you will be the captain responsible for the route from Brazil to Italy. Colonel Attilio Parisi of your Brazilian Expeditionary Force Navy has been asking when you can report. I postponed it on the grounds that you are still participating in the training assessment of the US Navy, but they should come to you soon, so you have to hurry up. Sure enough, the relationship of interest is the most reliable. After paying consulting fees to Mrs. Jackson, plus John's relationship, Fang Lang and Commodore Jackson are now close uncles and nephews. Therefore, Jackson will directly help Fang Lang cover up many things. Uncle Jackson, I came here today not only to ask you for my aunt's bank account, but also to hurry up and finish my personal affairs. But there are some things that I think may be helpful to Uncle Jackson, so I came to you specially. Oh, tell me, what is it that will help me? Jackson was also stunned when he heard that it would help him. It's like this, Uncle Jackson, because my global trade company wants to set up a branch in Italy, so I want you to help introduce the Italian garrison commander in Naples, and want to recruit some company employees through his relationship. In this war-torn period, a stable job should be used as a favor to win over the Italians. Haha. You kid, if you want me to help introduce the local snake, just say it directly, and you said you can help me. I almost believed it. Jackson saw through Fang Lang's trick at a glance. Fang Lang was not embarrassed and said to Jackson with a smile, Uncle won't mind, right? Well, it happens that I have lunch with the mayor of Naples at noon today. I will ask Lieutenant Colonel Rolando Crespo to meet you, Jackson said without any concern. In this way, Fang Lang met the mayor of Naples and Lieutenant Colonel Rolando Crespo, the commander of the Italian garrison in Naples. Not many specific things were said at the table. General Jackson just introduced Fang Lang and said that this was one of his juniors, who was now serving in the logistics department of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force Navy. After the meal, Fang Lang visited the mayor of Naples and Lieutenant Colonel Rolando Crespo respectively. With the help of the two, he bought a house not far from the Naples naval port for $40,000 as the office building of the Italian branch of global trade. With the personal participation of the mayor, the company registration was completed, and the office staff released the employment information to various talent markets, and agreed to recruit personnel in the new office building tomorrow morning. However, Fang Lang must find a person he trusts as the person in charge of the company. Fortunately, Fang Lang will not leave Naples immediately in the near future, so he still has time to slowly look for someone. Just after Fang Lang finished dinner with the mayor and the lieutenant colonel, he was drunkenly walking on the way back to the barracks, feeling the cold wind of Naples in winter, when a familiar voice called Fang Lang. Fang, is that you? Fang Lang turned his head and saw that it was Lilith, the nurse who took care of him in the Navy hospital. He was surprised to meet this beautiful girl on the streets of Italy after being discharged from the hospital. Wow. Dear Miss Lilith, am I dreaming? Or did I meet an angel? Fang Lang pretended to be a hooligan and joked. Fang, don't tease me. Why are you drunkenly wandering on the streets of Naples? Shouldn't you have returned to the front line to fight? Lilith blushed and said with concern. In fact, Lilith's appearance is very consistent with Fang Lang's aesthetics. She has fair and rosy skin, although she has a few freckles like most white people, black hair, black eyes, and a high nose bridge. She looks very much like Monica Bellucci, the heroine of the later movie The Beautiful Legend of Sicily, but her personality is not as charming as in the movie. Instead, she has the temperament of a girl next door, which makes Fang Lang very excited. Unfortunately, as a soldier who may go to war and die at any time, he dare not expect to have any intersection with such a girl. Haha. Lilith, if I don't wander the streets of Naples drunk, how can I have the opportunity to meet my goddess? Dear Lilith, I wonder if you can accompany me, a lost lamb looking for the goddess, for a cup of coffee. Now Fang Lang has confidence in his pocket, and he doesn't want to let go of the opportunity that comes to his door. I'm afraid that won't work. It's getting dark now. I have to go home, or my dad will come out to look for me. Lilith didn't dislike Fang language. At least compared to the unruly American soldiers, Fang Lang's introverted and humble character was more pleasing. Although this guy would always tease her verbally, he never made a move like other American soldiers. In that case, I wonder if I have the honor to send my goddess home. Fang Lang didn't want to be too eager to cause the girls disgust. My home is in front. The girl's answer made Fang Lang stunned, and he looked in the direction of Lilith's finger. Unexpectedly, Lilith's home was not far behind the office building that Fang Lang had just purchased. Could this be fate? Fang Lang couldn't help but think in his heart. Then we have to walk slowly. I want to slow down time. Lilith covered her mouth and chuckled. Okay. If you are not afraid of my father's lesson, we can walk back slowly. If my father-in-law wants to teach me a lesson, I will never resist. After all, I can't forgive a wild boy who came out of nowhere and wants to kidnap the little baby I have carefully cared for more than 10 years, right? What are you talking about? Who is your father-in-law? Fang, how come you have become so bad after just 1 month of not seeing you? Lilith's face flushed under Fang Lang's attack. Fang Lang, under the influence of alcohol, looked at the shy face of the little girl under the dim street lights and couldn't help but be a little stupid. Lilith didn't get a response from Fang Lang and found that Fang Lang had a pig-like face, looking at herself stupidly, and a little sweet feeling surged in her heart for no reason. Her face became even more blushing. Just as the ambiguous atmosphere between the two was heating up, an inappropriate voice sounded in front of them. Lilith, is this your friend? Do you want to call him home for a cup of coffee? Although the voice was very soft, it pulled the two back from the ambiguous atmosphere. Lilith was the first to react. She was startled and hurriedly introduced guiltily. Dad, why are you here? This is Fang Lang, my friend. Fang Lang was shocked to hear that it was the father-in-law he was just talking about. He was just molesting someone else's daughter, and the parent immediately appeared in front of him. He was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat and sobered up a lot. He stood up straight, straightened his clothes and said, "Hello, uncle. My name is Fang Lang. Nice to meet you." Lilith's father was obviously a well-educated gentleman. He extended his right hand very politely and said, "Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Lilith's father Umaru Coburn. We are already at the door. How about having a cup of coffee at home?" Fang Lang was of course very happy about Lilith's father's invitation. He did not refuse and agreed generously. "Of course, uncle, it's Milner." Hearing that Fang Lang accepted his invitation calmly, Lilith's father was a little surprised. He thought that the young man in front of him would be scared and run away as soon as he opened his mouth. Unexpectedly, he actually accepted the invitation generously. This made him start to look at the young man in front of him seriously. He would never have thought that the young man in front of him, who had experience to lives and whose mental age was probably older than him, would run away just because he flirted with a little girl and was discovered by the other party's father. Chapter 14 Beautiful Misunderstanding. In Naples, Italy, the night deepened. A tipsy Fang Lang sat in the living room of Lilith's house, holding the coffee brewed by Lilith's mother. Lilith beside him was a little fidgety, and across the table sat Lilith's father and mother, who were looking at Fang Lang with the eyes of a son-in-law. This situation made Lilith a little overwhelmed, and she didn't understand how things could progress to this point. And the sister behind the door also stuck out her little head and secretly observed the weird atmosphere on the table. Fang Lang calmly drank a sip of coffee and was the first to speak. "Auntie, the coffee you brew is really delicious. I hope I can have the opportunity to drink such delicious coffee often in the future." Lilith's father's eyes condensed after hearing this. Lilith's mother had already smiled and said, "Haha, really? Just like to drink it. come here often if you have the opportunity in the future. I will go to the market tomorrow to see if there is any coffee supply. Buy some and save it for you to come and drink it." Obviously, Lilith's mother admired the calm temperament shown by Fang Lang very much. There is a feeling that the more a mother-in-law looks at her son-in-law, the more she likes him. Fang Lang was stunned when he heard the answer from Lilith's mother and said, "Is the supply of coffee in the market tight now?" "That's right. We don't know when the war will end, and now the family business has closed down. There is a shortage of everything in the market. If it continues like this, everyone will have trouble making ends meet." Lilith's mother heard Fang Lang discussing the supply of goods in the market with her and started complaining directly. Lilith's father, who was beside him, coughed twice and said, "Cough, cough. Why are you saying these things in front of the child?" "Fang Lang, I call you Fang. You don't mind, do you?" "Of course, uncle can call me anything." Seeing that Lilith's father was about to start talking, Fang Lang sat up straight and responded seriously. "I see you are wearing a military uniform. Are you an American soldier?" Lilith's father obviously didn't recognize Fang Lang's armband. "Uncle, I'm now a lieutenant in the Logistics Department of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force Navy. My specific job is the captain of a transport ship." Fang Lang's answer surprised Lilith next to him and said, "Aren't you an infantryman in the Brazilian Expeditionary Force? How did you become a transport ship captain in the Navy?" "Haha. I have to thank John for his help. I'll take the time to tell you in detail. Anyway, now I don't have to go to the front line and fight the Germans." Lilith's father was obviously relieved when he heard that Fang Lang didn't have to fight the Germans on the front line anymore. He whispered, "That's good, that's good." Obviously, he was worried that if he died in the war or came back with missing limbs after being with Lilith, it would affect his future life with Lilith. They didn't know that Fang Lang and Lilith were not boyfriend and girlfriend yet. It was just an accidental encounter, and he happened to see it. But Fang Lang was happy to see this beautiful misunderstanding. Aunt just said that the family business went bankrupt. I wonder what business uncle used to do. Fang Lang is looking for talents who can help him manage the Italian company. If Lilith's father has had such experience, it would be perfect. It's a small business, mainly selling some imported machinery and equipment. With the outbreak of the war, the sea transportation was cut off, and the business could not continue. Now we can only live off the old capital at home. So, your aunt will have some complaints. I hope, Fang, you don't mind." Lilith's father said a little embarrassedly. Hearing Lilith's father's answer, Fang Lang was overjoyed. Isn't this just someone sending a pillow when you want to sleep? If Lilith's father becomes the boss of his Italian branch, then wouldn't it be easier for him to pursue Lilith in the future? Oh. So uncle doesn't have a specific job now, right? Fang Lang's words obviously made Lilith's father blush and look a little embarrassed. Fang Lang realized that this sentence was inappropriate and quickly made amends. "I mean, I have a job here. I wonder if uncle is interested." When several people heard Fang Lang's words, their eyes lit up, and they all looked at Fang language. Lilith's mother was the first to speak. "Oh. Fang, is it true? I wonder what kind of job it is." "It's like this. The office building not far from your house has been bought by me, and it is going to be the office location of our Italian branch of Global Trade Co. Limited. I just registered the company's procedures today, and I'm looking for a manager who is familiar with the situation in Italy. Since uncle has experience in this area, isn't it just right? Fang, is it true? Aren't you a soldier? How can you have time to do business?" Now Lilith couldn't help but wonder. It is because I'm a soldier that I need to find a manager to help me manage the company. I only need to manage the general direction of the company. Looking at Fang Lang's self-righteous expression, Lilith actually felt that it made sense. Fang Lang turned to look at Lilith's father and said, "Uncle, I wonder if you can come and help me. I can hire you as the general manager of the Italian branch of Global Trade Company with a monthly salary of $200 plus year-end dividends." Hearing that Fang Lang offered a monthly salary of $200, several people's eyes lit up. Lilith's mother blurted out, $200 a month, is it true? Fang, is it really $200 a month? To be honest, the $200 Fang Lang gave was definitely a high salary in Italy at that time, but it was definitely quite low compared to Fang Lang's profits. However, the relationship with Lilith was not close enough at this point, and it was not clear whether Lilith's father's specific ability was qualified for this position. So Fang Lang reported this salary to Lilith's father first, and if he was qualified, he would consider increasing the salary or equity incentives and dividend rewards. Of course, how can I joke about such a thing? If uncle agrees, you can go to work tomorrow. We also need to recruit personnel to fill various departments, and hurry up to set up the company's framework. I also have to report back to the army. Fang, now it's a war period, and sea transportation is cut off. How can we survive as a trading company like this? Lilith's father was a businessman after all, and he immediately grasped the key point. Uncle, don't worry, you also know that I'm a soldier and the captain of a transport ship. Therefore, although the German submarines are hunting everywhere, my fleet will follow the American escort fleet, which is countless times safer than ordinary cargo ships. This is the confidence we can develop. Hearing that Fang Lang's transport ship can move with the American escort fleet, Lilith's father finally understood why Fang Lang dared to open a new import and export trading company at this time, when all import and export businesses had been suspended. Lilith's father looked at his daughter, who was still confused sitting next to Fang Lang, and felt mixed emotions. He knew that if he went to work at Fang Lang's company, it would be equivalent to agreeing to the relationship between Lilith and Fang Lang, while his daughter still looked like she didn't understand anything and stared at Fang Lang in a daze. He felt as if the cabbage he had raised for 18 years was exchanged for a bowl of rice by the pig next door. However, he knew that he couldn't refuse such a job opportunity. In this special period, everyone is looking for job opportunities. If he didn't take this job with a monthly salary of $200, there would be a lot of people who would rush to send their daughters to get this job. So, after hesitating for a while, he said to Fang Lang, Fang, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I will work hard and make sure that the salary you pay is worth it. That's good. I'm so happy that you can come to work. With you helping me steer the company, I can go out to explore with confidence. I have organized a transport fleet. Now there are 3 transport ships running the route from Italy to Brazil. Uncle, after you go to work, take the time to do a market survey to see what is the most scarce and in-demand product in the Italian market now. We will ship it from Brazil. Lilith's father was even more surprised to hear that Fang Lang actually had 3 transport ships. He didn't expect that this son-in-law had such strength. He had to look at him with new eyes. So the two of them made an appointment to meet downstairs of the company's office building at 8:30 tomorrow morning, and Fang Lang left Lilith's house reluctantly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15, Joining the Navy Department. After Fang Lang left Lilith's house, Lilith's parents questioned Lilith about her relationship with Fang language. When Lilith said that tonight was the first time they had met in a month since Fang Lang was discharged from the hospital, Lilith's mother directly said that she had taken a fancy to this young man and asked Lilith to get this son-in-law. This made Lilith so embarrassed that she wanted to find a hole to hide in. Although Lilith had a good impression of Fang Lang and their relationship was closer yesterday, Lilith still felt that the two of them should get to know each other better before seeing if they were suitable for further development. Finally, Lilith's father made a summary speech on behalf of the head of the family. We should not get involved. Lilith and Fang Lang's personal feelings should be decided by themselves. If they can get together, I also hope it is because of love. Don't let my work for him affect your judgment of your own feelings. You know, Lilith. I understand, Dad. You still love me the most. Just like this, a beautiful misunderstanding made Lilith's family know Fang Lang, and because of the misunderstanding of her family, Fang Lang's position in Lilith's mind quietly changed. The next morning, when Fang Lang came downstairs of the company's office building, Lilith's father Umaru Coburn had already been waiting downstairs of the company. Fang Lang walked forward very naturally, shook hands with him and greeted him, then opened the door and entered the office building. This office building was also the first time Fang Lang entered. This is a 4-story building in the Baroque architectural style. The materials used in the entire building are very exquisite. Although Fang Lang doesn't know what material the stone is made of, it can be seen that it is definitely not cheap. The inside and outside of the house are all finely carved sculptures, and the decoration is very gorgeous. This made Fang Lang feel that his $40,000 was well spent. If it were not for the war, Fang Lang believed that such a building covering nearly 1,000 square meters would not be able to be sold. This building would definitely be worth over 100 million yuan in the 21st century. But at this time, such buildings can be seen everywhere in Italy, but few people are interested in it. Fortunately, the building was obviously taken care of by someone, and it was very tidy. Even the desks and chairs were all complete, which were obviously left over from the past, which saved Fang Lang a lot of trouble. Because I made an appointment with the mayor of Naples yesterday, all the recommended people will come here for an interview at 9 o'clock this morning. So the task of Fang Lang and Mr. Coburn this morning was to interview all the personnel. The framework of the Italian branch of Global Trade Co. Limited was set up within today, and enough captains and sailors were recruited for their fleet. Soon, people began to come for interviews. Fang Lang only interviewed the company's financial personnel, and Mr. Coburn interviewed other personnel. And the management personnel such as the captain and the first mate of the fleet were also interviewed by Fang Lang. As for other sailors, Fang Lang handed them over to the captain and the first mate to recruit themselves. So the recruitment work was barely completed in one morning. After the basic structure of the personnel was built, Fang Lang first asked Mr. Coburn to arrange 2 special people to guard the naval warehouse and prepare to receive the goods smuggled by the crew. Fang Lang explained the main business of Global Trade Company to Mr. Coburn in detail. He also asked him to arrange special people to go to the market to collect the goods that are in short supply and can create high value, and regularly inform himself and the New York head office of the market price of the goods by telegram, so that the company can adjust the transported goods. Fang Lang knew the importance of information very early, so he planned to arrange professional telegraph rooms in several of his companies and fleets to facilitate the timely communication and transmission of information. In the future, every delivery order issued by Italy will be notified to the New York headquarters by telegram, and every shipment of goods issued by the New York headquarters will be notified to the Italian branch by telegram, forming a closed loop. Avoid being embezzled by the company's people in Fang Lang's absence. Finally, after finishing the company's affairs on this day, Fang Lang had to report back to the military camp because Colonel Attilio Peresi of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force Navy sent a military order requiring him to report to the Brazilian Navy headquarters before 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. The commander of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force was only a major general, so the highest commander of the Navy was Colonel Attilio Peresi. If Fang Lang wanted to have a good life in the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, he had to handle the relationship with the highest officer well. So Fang Lang did not dare to make any concessions to the order of the naval colonel, and rushed to the colonel's office on time at 9 o'clock the next morning to report. Fang Lang, a lieutenant of the Expeditionary Navy, is here to report. Fang Lang's military salute has always been very standard, which is mainly due to his military training experience in college in his previous life. Come in. The voice from the office was very majestic. When Fang Lang pushed the door open and entered, he found 2 Brazilian officers sitting in the office. A middle-aged colonel with a thin body, fair skin and a hooked nose was sitting at the desk, looking at him with dignity, while a big-bellied lieutenant colonel with brown skin and obvious Brazilian features was sitting on the sofa in the reception area next to him, looking at Fang Lang with a smile. Fang Lang only glanced at the office environment after entering the office, and then walked to the colonel's desk without looking away, stood at attention and saluted. Report. Colonel, Lieutenant Fang Lang is here to report. At ease. Colonel Attilio Peresi looked up and down at the second lieutenant in front of him. He was tall and straight, 1.8 meters tall, with black hair and black eyes, and a distinctly Asian face. Second Lieutenant Fang Lang, I have read your resume. The army has given a very high evaluation of your performance on the battlefield. I welcome a brave soldier like you to join our navy. Thank you, sir. I'm also very honored to join your command and serve the country. I heard from Brigadier General Jackson that you have passed the US military's assessment and have the ability to drive ocean-going ships. So I asked you to come here today in the hope that you can seize the time to get familiar with your colleagues in the Navy. We will immediately receive the transport ship from the US military and start the transportation work as soon as possible. The colonel did not exchange pleasantries with the second lieutenant Fang Lang, but went straight to the point and asked to start work as soon as possible. Yes, sir. This is Lieutenant Colonel Graham of the Logistics Department of the Expeditionary Force Command. In the future, your ship will be mainly responsible for docking with the Lieutenant Colonel and transporting the remains of our fallen soldiers and the spoils back to Brazil. Is it clear? Colonel Attilio Perez pointed to the smiling Lieutenant Colonel on the sofa and said, "Report to the commander. My ship will be responsible for transporting the remains of my fallen soldiers and the spoils of war back to Brazil. The order is clear." Fang Lang repeated the order loudly, turned around and saluted Lieutenant Colonel Graham, saying, "Hello, sir." Lieutenant Colonel Graham's work style was obviously much more casual. After casually raising his hand, he said directly to Fang Lang, "Hello, I don't know how long it will take you to build your team. The materials and bodies of the fallen soldiers we need to transport back to Brazil will be shipped to Naples tomorrow. I hope to set sail as soon as possible. Report to the commander. This time will take more than a week at the fastest, because I need to meet and get familiar with my crew first, and then go to the US military to receive our ship. After getting familiar with the ship, we can set off." Fang Lang didn't want to set off so soon. The Italian company still needs him to participate in the construction, and Lilith Girl still needs him to attack. Of course, what Fang Lang said is also the truth. Now he doesn't know what level of ability the crew assigned to him has. Don't wait until they are all rookies with no sailing experience. Fortunately, the Lieutenant Colonel just frowned deeply and didn't say anything more. Fang Lang soon left the office of Colonel Attilio Perez and came to a military camp under the leadership of his adjutant. In front of a barracks, there was already a team of more than 50 people waiting for the arrival of the new commander in the cold wind. After the adjutant read out the headquarters appointment of Fang Lang in front of the team, he handed the team over to Fang Language. Looking at this team of about 50 people in front of him, Fang Lang was excited. Finally, he was also a leader. Chapter 16 Crew. In January of 1945, the weather in Italy was very cold. Fang Lang and the soldiers stood outside the tent, shivering with cold, but Fang Lang did not order the team to disband. Instead, they started the first self-introduction outside the barracks, because Fang Lang knew that he was too young. Almost everyone in the team was older than him, and there were 2 second lieutenants in the rank. Therefore, Fang Lang had to establish a stern image in the first meeting. This is what the head of the family said about the 3 fires of a new officer taking office. Fang Lang knew very well that authority was very important in the army, and you had to let everyone know who had the final say here. Fang Lang stood at attention and saluted, and the team also saluted in unison. After the ceremony, Fang Lang began his first speech. "At ease, brothers. I'm the captain of this newly formed transport ship. My name is Fang Language. Thank you for welcoming me in the cold wind. We will fight on the same ship in the future. I hope to get familiar with everyone first. Next, starting from the first soldier on my right, introduce yourself one by one. I need to know your name, years of service experience and position on the ship. Do you understand?" "Understood." There was a neat shout from the team. It was obvious that the Americans' training of the free-spirited Brazilians was effective. Although the team's standing posture, military appearance and discipline could not be compared with the army in Fang Lang's mind, it was already much stricter than the army in Brazil. "Then let's start." After hearing everyone's answer, Fang Lang ordered to start directly. "Report. My name is Fida de la Torre. I have been in the Navy for 8 years, and I was the first officer of the destroyer Marcelo Dias before I was transferred, and now I'm your first officer." The first person who introduced Fang Lang was stunned. How could a destroyer's first officer be sent to such a transport ship as the first officer? This is equivalent to being exiled to the frontier. Report. My name is Norbert Rufindis. I have been in service for 2 years, from the Logistics Department, and now I'm your second officer. This is obviously a relative, inserted by the Logistics Department. Isn't it bullshit for a logistics person to come here to be the second officer? Fang Lang didn't think about whether he was not a bigger relative in the minds of these crew members. At a young age, a sergeant in the army, who was less than 20 years old, suddenly became the captain of a naval transport ship. The Americans also specified that he must be the captain. If this is not a relative, then what is a relative? Of course, the backer of this relative is the Americans. Now the Americans are the fathers of the Brazilians, so no one dares to have any objections. Report. My name is Amarina. I have been in service for 2 years. Before I joined the service, I was the chief engineer of the transport ship. Now I'm your chief engineer. Finally, a normal crew member came. Report. My name is Cruzier Duet. I have been in service for 3 years. I was the squad leader of the 11th Army Infantry Regiment. Now I'm your guard squad leader. There is another colleague here, but the guard squad leader he mentioned does not refer to Fang Lang's guard. Although he is also responsible for part of Fang Lang's guard work, this squad is mainly used to use the anti-aircraft machine guns, anti-submarine guns and other defensive weapons on the ship to protect the ship from being sunk by German planes or submarines. The remaining personnel are basically sailors and soldiers, which is not beyond Fang Lang's expectations. Most of these crew members are personnel drawn from various naval ships, and some of them even have only work experience on inland ships. However, it is still a surprise for Fang Lang to have a first mate with work experience on a destroyer. Although Fang Lang knows that this person may have been sent here, it may also be that the Brazilian Navy is worried that Fang Lang can't play the transport ship and arranges a backup personnel, but Fang Lang doesn't care at all. Given Fang Lang's relationship with the US military, the Brazilian Navy did not dare to move Fang Lang's position. So if Fang Lang could use such a person well, it would be very easy for him. Finally, everyone finished introducing themselves, and Fang Lang began to summarize. Very good. Although everyone comes from different branches of the military, different departments, and has different experiences, I hope everyone can seize the time, get familiar with each other, and form combat effectiveness as soon as possible. The superiors only gave us a week to adapt to the new job. This afternoon, I will confirm the situation of our ship with the US military. Tomorrow morning, we will officially receive the ship and start our crew career. I hope that, since everyone is on the same ship, we must unite as one, overcome difficulties and cross the German blockade together to complete the task assigned to us by the superiors. Do you have confidence? Yes. The voice is too soft, I can't hear it clearly. Fang Lang stared at the soldiers coldly. Although he could hear their replies, he obviously did not hear their confidence from the responses. Yes. The voices finally became a little more uniform and a little louder. Are you women? The voices of so many people are not as loud as mine alone. Answer me loudly. Do you have confidence? What Fang Lang needed was the soldiers shouting with all their might. Finally, the soldiers tried their best. The veins on their necks bulged, and they shouted with red faces and thick necks. Yes. 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 Very good. Remember this feeling. Whether you are talking or doing things, you must try your best. My hearing is not very good, so when you answer my questions in the future, please keep the state of today. Fang Lang certainly has good hearing. After the fusion of the memories of two lives, his body has doubled the memory, physical fitness and spirit. In particular, his body has become much stronger than before. The muscles on his body bulge one by one. The increased strength makes Fang Lang feel that he can easily defeat 10 enemies. Stand at attention. Everyone, except the first mate, the rest of the personnel will go back to the camp to rest. Disband. Hearing Fang Lang's announcement of disbandment, the soldiers who were shivering in the cold wind dispersed. This made Fang Lang very dissatisfied, but he didn't say anything else. After all, this is the Brazilian army. Hello, Mr. Delator, it's a pleasure to work with you. Fang Lang extended a hand of friendship to his first mate. The first mate was a blonde, blue-eyed, bearded white man. He was not tall. Judging from his age, Fang Lang thought he was at least 38 or 39 years old, which was the prime of his life. The first mate also stretched out his hand to shake hands with Fang Lang and said solemnly, "Hello, Captain. It is an honor to serve as the first mate on your ship." Fang Lang was not polite and said straight to the point, "First mate, please forgive me for being so presumptuous. I'm very curious about why you agreed to serve as the first mate on my transport ship with your resume. Maybe most foreigners are more direct people, or maybe Delator himself had expected to be asked this question. So he also said a little embarrassedly, "Captain, because my family conditions are not good, I send all my monthly income back home, so I don't have money to give gifts." The first mate's answer made Fang Lang stunned. He didn't react. Was he going to be transferred from a destroyer to a transport ship without money? What kind of bullshit reason is this? Even if you are lying, you should find a more reliable reason. However, looking at the serious expression on the first mate's face, Fang Lang felt that he should not have lied to him. It took him a long time to realize that he was in Brazil. At this time, Brazil was a period of rampant corruption, and the government was authoritarian. If the junior officers did not give enough benefits to their superiors, there was basically no hope of promotion. Phenomena like Delator should be very common. I understand, Mr. First Mate. Then first of all, I want to tell you that I don't care about other places, but on my ship, I don't allow you to take benefits from the crew below, nor do you need to give me benefits. In addition to the fixed military pay, I will give you a certain amount of cash rewards based on your work performance. My requirements are very simple. I hope that everyone can devote all their energy to work and to improving their work ability. If you are capable enough, I will give you enough power and enough income to support your family. Do you understand what I mean?" Fang Lang said to the first mate seriously, thinking in his heart that maybe he had found a way to cultivate his own power. "Captain, are you serious?" Delator said, staring at Fang Lang with a shocked and expectant expression. "Of course, don't worry. Generating income is my job, and what you have to do is to help me manage the crew and train them to improve the tacit understanding among them. I hope I can have a combat-capable ship. If you can satisfy me, you will get an additional allowance of no less than $100 from me every month." Fang Lang patted the first mate's arm affirmatively and promised seriously. Chapter 17 American Specialties. $100 is a considerable income in this era. Fang Lang's words shocked Delator and made him speechless, because as the first mate, he could also get a little tribute from the crew, an average of about $30 a month. But now Fang Lang said that, as long as he did his job well, he could get an extra $100 a month. This kind of thing is simply a fantasy in the Brazilian army. It's always subordinates who pay tribute to their superiors. When did the superiors start to pay their subordinates privately? Delator stared at Fang Lang for a long time, then swallowed his saliva and said, "Captain, I listen to you." Fang Lang saw Delator's expression and said lightly, "You go back first. You will see my promise soon." After that, he turned and walked towards the office of the naval colonel. Delator's words reminded Fang Lang that, although he had the support of the Americans, if he wanted to be successful in the Brazilian army, he must be as powerful as the others. After all, he is now a man with money. Fang Lang first went to the warehouse to get 2 packs of cigarettes. After taking out the cigarettes and stuffing some American specialties into the pack, he strode to the office of Colonel Attilio Peresi, the commander of the Brazilian Navy. Because he didn't know who he was under the jurisdiction of, maybe because the Americans arranged it directly, Fang Lang, as a small second lieutenant, his job was actually arranged directly by the commander of the Navy. This is also good. Directly find the biggest boss, don't have to make a profit for the middleman, and pay a lower cost. Report. Second Lieutenant Fang Lang, I need to report to you. Fang Lang knocked on the door of Colonel Attilio Perez's office with a small satchel in his hand. "Come in, Second Lieutenant Fang. Didn't you just leave? Why are you back so soon? Is there something wrong?" The colonel looked at Fang Lang with a puzzled look. "Report to the commander. This is the first time I come to report to you. I'm clumsy and accidentally stepped on a flower at your door. I came to apologize to you." Fang Lang looked serious. Colonel Attilio Peresi was a little confused. What did he mean by his bad memory? When did flowers and plants appear at the door? Did you remember it wrongly? There are no flowers at the door of my office. Report to the commander. That's because I stepped on it and was afraid of your punishment, so I threw it away. To express my apology, I brought some American specialties here, hoping to make up for your loss. Then he took out the prepared gift and put it on the colonel's desk. The colonel saw Fang Lang put a cigarette on the table and finally realized what Fang Lang meant. He glanced at the open cigarette box and thought to himself, what does it mean to look down on someone? Am I someone who lacks cigarettes? And it was opened. Okay, I get it. There's no need to come here to apologize for such a small matter. It's more important to hurry back and get familiar with your team. Seeing that the colonel didn't open the cigarette box to see what was inside, Fang Lang was worried that the colonel would give it to someone else. Wouldn't he be performing for the blind? He said quickly, yes, sir. I hope you don't dislike the local specialties I sent you. This kind of local specialties need to be smoked one by one. If you smoke one by one, you will be easily sad. Fang Lang's words confused the colonel again. What does it mean that I need you to teach me how to smoke? And I have to smoke one by one, not one by one. He picked up the cigarette and looked at the place where it was opened. His pupils shrank and he quickly covered the cigarette box with his hands. He turned his head to look at Fang Lang's expression, which was wonderful, surprised, embarrassed, blamed, worried, confused, and happy. The expression on his face kept changing. After a while, he laughed and said, Fang, isn't it just a flower? Is it worth your special trip? Come and sit down and have a cup of coffee. There is no need to rush for work. We still have plenty of time. Report to the commander. I'm very grateful for your generosity. Your work is so busy. I'd better not disturb you too much. I will come to you again before our fleet departs. If you need to bring anything for your family far away in Brazil, please be sure to notify me. I will come to pick it up immediately and send it back to your home in person. Fang Lang saw that his gift had been delivered and the colonel had accepted it, so he did not hesitate and prepared to visit the next commander. Colonel Attilio Perisi also wanted to see how many local specialties there were, so he did not try to keep Fang Lang. Okay, go back and work hard, and there will be good news soon. The colonel's words made Fang Lang a little confused. What good news? He just reported to the military camp. What good news could there be? He did not hesitate and said sir, goodbye, and left the colonel's office. The office of Lieutenant Colonel Graham of the Logistics Department was near the storage area. Since I had never been there before, I had to ask several people before I found the place. After knocking on the door of the office, a woman responded after a while, who is it? Excuse me, is this Lieutenant Colonel Graham's office? I'm Lieutenant Fang Lang of the Navy. I have something to report to the commander. Then I heard a rustling sound from inside. A charming white woman opened the door and walked out. She threw a wink at Fang Lang and walked away with her hips twisted. Fang Lang thought to himself that it was over. He came at the wrong time and disturbed the commander's good thing. Will he be punished? I don't know if it's too late to turn around and leave now. Just when Fang Lang was still thinking about whether he should leave, Lieutenant Colonel Graham's voice came from the room. Come in. Hearing the emotionless voice from inside, Fang Lang was embarrassed. He could dig out 2 bedrooms and a living room on the ground with his toes. But since he had already reported his name, he could only bite the bullet and push the door in. Report to the commander. When you came out of the colonel's office just now, something was left behind. I brought it to you. The room was warm, and there was the smell of women's cheap perfume and a special odor. Fang Lang knew what it was, so he felt a little nauseous. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Graham seemed to be indifferent. While slowly putting on his fat body and not particularly fitting military uniform, he turned to Fang Lang and said, something was left behind. What is it? Fang Lang didn't waste any words and directly put the cigarette box on the table in front of the lieutenant colonel. The lieutenant colonel picked it up and looked at the open seal. His eyes narrowed slightly and a smile began to appear on his greasy and sweaty face. Haha. Thank you, Lieutenant Fang, for your hard work. This is indeed my stuff, and it is very valuable. Lieutenant Fang, see if there is anything I can do for you. I must express my gratitude. Fang Lang did not expect that this Lieutenant Colonel Graham would actually do things for money, which actually made Fang Lang's original disgust for him fade a lot. After thinking about it, it seems that he does not need his help in any way. This time, he sent local specialties, because he only knew these two officers in the Brazilian army. He just wanted to warm up the old stove and say hello, hoping that they would think of him when good things happen in the future. In fact, Fang Lang felt that the local specialties sent out this time were not much. The colonel gave $4,000 and the one in front of him only gave $3,000. Suddenly, an idea flashed in his mind and he said, "Sir, I don't need your help. This morning you told me that we are mainly responsible for transporting the spoils back to the country, so I wonder if you have a lot of spoils." Of course it is a lot. Unfortunately, our transportation capacity is not enough, and the route is not safe. Alas. This is exactly what bothers me the most. Now there is only your transport ship, and I don't know when it will be delivered. Fang Lang's question obviously touched Lieutenant Colonel Graham's sore spot. Is that so? Maybe I can provide you with some help. Hearing Fang Lang's words, Lieutenant Colonel Graham was delighted and said, "Second Lieutenant Fang, if you have any good ideas, tell me quickly. If you can solve this big problem of mine, I will definitely apply to the commander for a promotion reward for you." Fang Lang hurriedly said in surprise, "Are you serious, sir? I will never break my promise." Lieutenant Colonel Graham promised with a serious face. Chapter 18 Receiving the Ship. Seeing the serious expression on the face of the Lieutenant Colonel, Fang Lang knew that his chance had come. "Okay, then I'll tell you a place where you can hire ships that dare to go to Brazil. Now we should be able to dispatch 3 ships of about 5,000 tons, but I estimate that the freight may be very expensive. After all, the route is now full of German submarines." Fang Lang was talking about the 3 cargo ships he had just bought from Commodore Jackson. Originally, he was going to use these 3 ships to bring goods back to Brazil to sell. Now that he doesn't have to go to Brazil empty, it's of course the best. Originally, Fang Lang could have the ship go to New York to purchase goods directly and ship them to Italy, but the port of New York is now full of military supplies, and it is difficult for civilian ships to find berths. The most important reason is that Fang Lang's uncle Yang Zhang runs a small private workshop-style cigarette factory in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and the business has not been very good. At this time, Fang Lang wants to invest in his uncle's cigarette factory, expand the scale of operation, and develop the cigarette factory through this rare opportunity. Brazil is an important tobacco production area, and the procurement cost and labor cost are very low. Therefore, the cost of purchasing cigarettes in Brazil is lower than in New York. There is no reason for Fang Lang not to take care of his own business. Here I would like to introduce Fang Lang's mother's family. Grandfather's father. Fang Lang's grandfather is a Taping Heavenly Kingdom survivor who came to Brazil with Fang Lang's great-grandfather. His ancestral home is Yunnan, but grandfather got married late. He has a daughter Yang Xia and a son Yang Zhang. Obviously, Yang Xia is Fang Lang's mother. In his early years, the old man bought land and became a landlord like his great-grandfather. When Fang Lang's grandfather was young, he didn't want to be tied to the land, so he started doing business and bought tobacco in the Chinese planting area for sale. Later, I don't know who fooled him, bought a small set of cigarette equipment and opened a cigarette factory, but the cigarettes of the cigarette factory didn't have any characteristics, so they were all half dead. When it was passed to his uncle, he wanted to transfer the cigarette factory many times, but because no one took over, and the people working in the factory were all old people in the factory, it was not good to cut off everyone's livelihood, so it became the current useless state. Uncle Yang Zhang married a Portuguese wife and had 2 sons, neither of whom wanted to take over his uncle's cigarette factory. The eldest son Yang Qian is now a clerk in the Sao Paulo city government. He wants to pursue a career in politics and is unwilling to return home to face the half-dead cigarette factory. The youngest son Yang Qian is still studying at university. In Fang Lang's impression, Yang Qian has no interest in the family's cigarette factory and wants to be a teacher instead. So Fang Lang considered going back to buy the factory or invest in it and continue to let his uncle manage it so that his grandfather's family business will not disappear. When it grows bigger, see if the two cousins have any ideas to help manage it. When Lieutenant Colonel Graham heard Fang Lang say that there was a ship for hire that could sail to Brazil, he was extremely excited and said quickly, "Money is a small problem. We will pay in US dollars. Let's go to the other party's company to have a chat now." Unfortunately, Fang Lang had not greeted Mr. Coburn in advance, and the ship had not been obtained yet, so he certainly could not take him there directly now. He could only shirk. "Don't worry, sir. Colonel Attilio Peresi just asked me to go to the US Navy to handle the ship handover procedures, so I have to go to receive the ship first. How about this? I will book a table at the Cantina restaurant tonight and then invite the other party to come with you and we can eat and chat, okay?" Lieutenant Colonel Graham was helpless when he heard that Fang Lang still had a mission to complete. After all, military orders are as heavy as mountains. At the same time, Fang Lang was relieved when he said that he would invite him to dinner at the famous Cantina restaurant in Naples tonight, and hurriedly said, "Of course, no problem. Don't worry, this kind of official reception, you don't have to treat. Just use it as the reception fee of our logistics department. I will arrange my adjutant to reserve a seat immediately, and we will see you tonight." Fang Lang did not expect that there would be catering expenses in Brazil at this time, and he certainly would not mind being able to eat and drink at the public expense of the Brazilian government. "Okay, sir, then we will see you tonight." After saying that, Fang Lang did not stay any longer and hurried away. Even though the room was much warmer than outside, he was unwilling to stay in this room full of odor. After leaving Lieutenant Colonel Graham's office, Fang Lang did not go directly to Commodore Jackson to receive the ship, but first went to the office building of Global Trade, bringing Mr. Coburn and the 3 Italian captains and first mates he recruited. Only then did he enter the US Navy camp again, and found Commodore Jackson. After introducing Commodore Jackson to Mr. Coburn, they came to the ship's berth together. At this time, there were 4 large transport ships moored at the berth. Judging from the construction style of the ships, 3 of them should be built by German shipyards, and 1 by Italian shipyards. Obviously, the ships of German shipyards are newer than those of Italian shipyards, and the designed carrying capacity of the transport ships of German shipyards is 5,500 tons, while the Italian one is just 5,000 tons. All 4 ships are powered by steam turbines, and the maximum speed is about 15 knots. Although it is lower than the maximum speed of 18 knots of the Victory ship, it is also higher than the 11 knots of ordinary Liberty ships. The ships are all completely captured Axis ships, and there is no damage. After Commodore Jackson sent people to check and confirm, the condition of the ships is very good. The US military has just carried out deep maintenance on the ships. They are in a full oil state, and can set off at any time. Fang Lang directly handed over the 3 German-made ships to Coburn, and he received the Italian-made ships for the Brazilian Navy. The better ships must be kept for himself. In terms of the clear distinction between public and private, Fang Lang is very clear. There is nothing wrong with this Italian-made ship, except that its carrying capacity is slightly smaller and its age is slightly older, which does not affect its normal use. After explaining to Mr. Coburn how to deal with Lieutenant Colonel Graham at night, Fang Lang returned to the Brazilian naval base with the ship's information, reported the handover to Colonel Attilio Peresi, and asked the colonel to arrange for the entry of the commissioning information and officially assign the ship to the Brazilian Navy's combat sequence. Of course, there are many cumbersome procedures that Fang Lang does not need to worry about. It only requires Brazilian naval personnel to seize the time tonight to inspect the ship, and Fang Lang can become the official captain of the Brazilian Navy tomorrow. Time soon came to 6:30 in the evening, and Fang Lang came to the Cantina restaurant early. In fact, according to the living habits of Italians, dinner is usually eaten very late, and it will not start before 8 o'clock. However, this time, because Fang Lang is playing the role of a middleman, he must arrive at the restaurant early. After all, Lieutenant Colonel Graham, as a Brazilian, does not know that Italian dinner is a real dinner. Sure enough, when Fang Lang arrived at the restaurant, Lieutenant Colonel Graham's car had already stopped at the restaurant entrance, and Lieutenant Colonel Graham, who was dressed in plain clothes, squeezed his fat body out of the co-pilot seat of the Willys Jeep. Seeing the strength of the Jeep's rebound, after he jumped off the Jeep with great effort, Fang Lang believed that, if the jeep could speak, it would definitely swear. Fang Lang went forward to greet Lieutenant Colonel Graham and said, "Sir, Italians usually don't start dinner until 8 o'clock in the evening, so we came a little early. Although I told them that dinner would start at 7 o'clock, Italians are not punctual people." Although it was not good to say bad things about Italians behind his father-in-law's back, he had to make it clear that he was just a middleman. Otherwise, he didn't know what his company would think when Lieutenant Colonel Graham found out. After all, the current Brazilian government is a dictatorship. Fang Lang had thought about it a long time ago. All investments in Brazil would not be directly established in Brazil in his own name, but it would be safer to invest in Brazil in the name of European and American companies, and would not cause unnecessary covetousness. When Ragam heard that it was an Italian, he couldn't help but frown. "Italians are unreliable now. Are you sure this Italian can have 3 ships that can go to Brazil?" "Don't worry, sir. I know about this company. The full name of this company is Global Trading Co. Limited, Italy branch. It is actually the Italian branch of an American company. That's why it has not been confiscated as enemy capital during this war. If you are worried, we will arrange our own soldiers and ships on each ship, and there will be no problem." Seeing that Lieutenant Colonel Graham was worried about the Italians, Fang Lang quickly brought up the company's American background. Chapter 19 Sisters. When Lieutenant Colonel Ragam heard Fang Lang's suggestion that soldiers could be arranged to accompany the ship, his doubts were put to rest. "You're right. If we can reach an agreement, we will arrange personnel to escort the ship." The two walked into the restaurant while talking. Not long after they sat down, Fang Lang saw Mr. Coburn also came to the door of the restaurant. He quickly stood up and waved. When the Lieutenant Colonel saw Fang Lang stand up, he knew that the guests had arrived, so he could only reluctantly pull his butt off the seat. Looking at the newcomer, he saw a middle-aged white man in a suit with meticulously combed hair and a calm and composed scholarly air. Fang Lang stepped forward to shake hands and greeted them, and then introduced them to the two. After the 3 of them sat down, the restaurant staff began to serve the dishes that had been ordered in order. Foreigners are not used to talking about business at the table, so at the beginning, they were talking about some casual things like the scenery of Italy. Soon after the meal was over, Lieutenant Colonel Ragam couldn't wait to speak. "Mr. Coburn, I heard Fang tell me that you have 3 ships without transportation tasks, right?" "There are 3 ships, but it can't be said that there are no transportation tasks. The American head office asked us to sail the ship to New York to help transport some military supplies. However, we are not willing to go to the United States with an empty ship, so we didn't go immediately. But since Mr. Fang found me, we can take the business of helping your army transport supplies back to Brazil, but the price may be higher. I hope Mr. Graham can understand." Mr. Coburn said lightly. Ragam thought it was hopeless when he heard Coburn say that the United States needed ships here to transport military supplies. Later, he heard that it could be taken, mainly because of the price. What's the problem? The freight is borne by the Brazilian government, but the materials transported back belong to him and the military commander. This kind of operation of damaging the public and enriching himself is too simple, so Lieutenant Colonel Graham said easily, "Mr. Coburn, please rest assured that money is not a problem. You make a price and I won't bargain." Hearing Lieutenant Colonel Graham's heroic answer, Fang Lang thought that this commander was a local tyrant from Saudi Arabia. Mr. Coburn was also stunned. He didn't know how to start the price negotiation routine he had prepared for a while. After thinking for a long time, he said, "Lieutenant Colonel Graham, we now have 3 cargo ships with a load capacity of 5,500 tons. If you are sure to use a chartered ship, our one-way quotation to Brazil is $30,000 per ship." Although Lieutenant Colonel Graham said that he was not short of money, he couldn't help but be shocked when he heard the freight of $30,000 per trip. He glanced at Fang Lang and winked, wanting Fang Lang to help say something good. Unfortunately, Fang Lang acted as if he was an outsider since they started talking about business. He looked around the restaurant, looking for a beautiful woman who would catch his eye. He completely misunderstood Graham's look, as if his eyes were cramping. Graham was helpless when he saw Fang Lang's performance. He had boasted about his own behavior again, and now he was a little embarrassed. He rolled his eyes and said, "Mr. Coburn, your price is reasonable. I'm not unacceptable, but I wonder if we can negotiate. Your fuel and daily necessities for the round trip will all be provided by our Brazilian Navy. I wonder if the price can be slightly more favorable." Mr. Coburn thought for a while and said, "If that's the case, the lowest price we can accept is $28,500 per ship. But we must make it clear first that we are not responsible for the safety of the goods. Now no insurance company is willing to insure the goods shipped by sea. The main reason is that the German submarines are hard to guard against. The risks we need to bear are very huge. The ship may be destroyed, and people may die at any time. I hope you can understand. I understand that this is a special period. I agree to the price. If the loss of goods is caused by war, we will not be responsible for your company, but if it is for other reasons, you will be responsible. In addition, because our goods are logistical supplies for the army, we need to arrange escorts on each ship. I hope you can provide convenience." Lieutenant Colonel Graham also put forward his request at the right time. Such a request is of course what Coburn wants. It can be safer to have the army on board to provide protection. So he said without hesitation, "Of course, it is normal procedure for the cargo owner to arrange personnel to supervise the safety of the cargo on board, and we will definitely cooperate actively." In this way, the two quickly reached a preliminary intention. As for the specific details of the cooperation, it was agreed that a special person would be arranged to go to Global Trade Company for detailed discussion tomorrow. Finally, the two ended the meeting in a relaxed and happy atmosphere. Fang Lang really wanted to go home with Mr. Coburn to see Miss Lilith, but unfortunately he was no longer free before reporting to the Brazilian Navy. There were still soldiers under his command in the barracks who needed to be managed, so he could only follow Lieutenant Colonel Graham's jeep back to the barracks. Fang Lang, who returned to the barracks, didn't know that Mr. Coburn, who returned home at this time, was being questioned by his family about his first day at work. "Dear, how do you feel about your first day at work today? Is your son-in-law's company big?" Mrs. Coburn looked at her husband eagerly. When Coburn heard his wife address Fang Lang, he was immediately full of black lines, and Lilith next to him blushed instantly. This made his sister giggle. Seeing the expectant eyes of his family, Coburn had to tell them what he had seen and heard in the company today. When he heard that Fang Lang was actually on par with the uncle and nephew of the American naval commodore and had received 3 5,000-ton cargo ships directly from the US military at one time, Mrs. Coburn's eyes sparkled. When she heard that the newly acquired ships would soon have business coming in and the freight for one trip was frighteningly high, she praised him again and again and turned to Lilith and said, "Lilith, do you have any idea about Fang Lang? I've made it clear to you that I like this son-in-law. If you can't get him, I'll arrange for your sister to take action." If Fang Lang were here, he would definitely hold his mother-in-law's hand and call her mother, not for Lilith, but mainly because he really didn't want to change his mother-in-law. Unfortunately, the father and daughter at the scene were directly fooled and stared at the woman in front of them in amazement. Lilith's face turned red. "Mom, what are you talking about?" The younger sister Vivian next to her was a little girl who had just turned 16. She had grown into a beautiful lady. She looked as outstanding as her sister, but unlike her sister who inherited her father's black hair, she had the same golden hair as her mother. She looked very similar to the Italian Anca dell'Italiata in later generations, but her skin was whiter. As a 16-year-old girl, Vivian could of course understand what her mother meant. She had a very good relationship with her sister, and then she said, "Mom, how can you say that? I won't steal your sister's man. We are good sisters. If your sister can't get it, I will join her. The two of us can definitely get it." Listening to Vivian's words, Mr. Coburn almost vomited blood in anger. Mrs. Coburn nodded thoughtfully and said, "What Vivian said makes sense. The war has caused a sharp decline in the male population in Italy. There may be many women who cannot get married in the future. Although my daughters are very beautiful, they can't just find a man to marry. Vivian, your idea is very constructive, and I agree. If your sister can't get Fang alone, I support your plan. I don't believe that there is any man who can resist the temptation of sisters." Lilith was already numb at this time. How can she do this? It seems that she can't do it without getting Fang Lang now. Her mother has already arranged a backup plan. However, when she thought of the love words Fang Lang said to her, and the look in his eyes when he sent her home last night, she couldn't help but feel sweet again. I don't know if Lilith really likes Fang Lang, or is influenced by what her mother and sister said. She has already begun to regard Fang Lang as her boyfriend. I don't want to care about you. Lilith ran back to the room shyly, and her sister Wee Wei also got up and went to whisper to her sister. Mrs. Cockburn was still on the sofa thinking about the feasibility of the plan. From her expression, it can be seen that she must have thought of something good, and her face was full of smiles. Poor Mr. Cockburn was confused and disheveled in the wind, thinking of Socrates' 3 questions of the soul. Who am I? Where do I come from? And where am I going? Chapter 20, Winning People's Hearts. At dawn the next day, Fang Lang received an order from the Brazilian Navy. Take all the crew members to the dock for the ship commissioning ceremony at 9 o'clock in the morning. Fang Lang did not dare to neglect it. After organizing his team, he lined up in an orderly manner and came to the dock to line up. There were already comrades in the Navy on the dock who were making on-site arrangements. The ship was also hung with ribbons, and the name of the ship Chilice was sprayed on the head of the bed. Fang Lang did not understand the naming rules of the Brazilian Navy, but he could see that the ship was named in the form of a person's name. In the future, he would be the captain of this Chilice. He was actually a little excited. After all, this was the first time he became a formal captain in 2 lives. Although the tonnage of the ship was not as large as the container ship he worked on in his previous life, it was still a formal captain, wasn't it? Fang Lang's team lined up neatly beside the ship, waiting for the commissioning ceremony to begin. Everyone was looking at the position that was about to fight with their own eyes, and everyone had a different feeling in their hearts. Soon it was 9 o'clock in the morning. Several naval officers, led by Colonel Attilio Peresi, came to the ship at the dock. No one expected that Colonel Peresi would come in person for a simple transport ship commissioning ceremony. A naval lieutenant colonel walked step by step to the front of Fang Lang and others and ordered loudly, "Fang Lang, step out." Fang Lang also stepped out according to the etiquette of the US military instructor training in his memory, and came to the front of the lieutenant colonel. He only heard the lieutenant colonel say, according to order number 101 of the Brazilian Naval Expeditionary Force Command, Lieutenant Fang Lang, who is brave and courageous, has skilled ship handling skills, and has successfully passed the assessment, is appointed as the captain of the Brazilian Naval Expeditionary Fleet Chilice, and promoted to lieutenant of the Navy. Order of the Brazilian Naval Expeditionary Fleet Command. Fang Lang was stunned. What's going on? He just changed from a sergeant to a second lieutenant, and he didn't make any contributions. How did he become a lieutenant? He is only 20 years old. Is it not good to be such a young lieutenant? Is it so easy to promote the rank of the Brazilian army? There was no time to think about it, so he stood at attention and saluted. He looked at Colonel Attilio Peresi, who was not far away. He saw the colonel smiling, his eyebrows twitching, and nodding slightly, obviously telling Fang Lang that it was his credit. Fang Lang suddenly realized that he deeply agreed with the noble character of these Brazilian officers who did things for money. Seeing that the lieutenant colonel changed the epaulets for him from 1 flower to 2, he suddenly realized that it was probably because he told the colonel that he was compensating for the flower he stepped on, and gave him a local specialty, so the colonel thought he was here to buy a flower. He couldn't help but admire the colonel's imagination, and felt inferior to him. Soon the colonel began to lecture again. Fortunately, it was wartime, so everything was kept simple. The ceremony ended in less than half an hour. If it were normal times, Fang Lang's calf would probably not end without cramps. After the ceremony, the Chilice cargo ship officially belonged to Fang Language. After arranging the crew members to board the ship in order, he gathered all the crew members on the deck and began his first speech on the ship. After waiting for the soldiers to line up and salute each other, Fang Lang slowly spoke, "Brothers, from now on, we will live on this ship and truly become brothers in the same boat. Today I will only say one thing, that is, from now on, it is not allowed for lower level soldiers to bribe and give gifts to superiors on my ship. Once discovered, both parties will be sent to the military court. There is absolutely no mercy. Of course, I also understand the difficulties in your life, so from now on, I will give you a certain allowance every month, based on your performance and work achievements. This allowance is in addition to the military salary. The amount of the allowance will vary according to your position and rank. The minimum is $20 per month and the maximum is $100 per month. Of course, I will only give you the allowance if your performance meets my requirements. Please don't spread the news that I give you allowances. After all, other troops don't have this kind of allowance. When the time comes, the superior will directly hand over my income, and you won't have any allowances to take. And I only have 3 requirements for everyone. The first is obedience, the second is obedience, and the third is fucking obedience. Do you understand? When the soldiers heard about this good news, they were so happy that they shouted in unison, "Understood." Fang Lang didn't even need to repeat the words this time, because they already made his eardrums hurt. After Fang Lang announced the disbandment, the soldiers were talking about it. "Brother, do you think what the captain said is true? Are you saying that gifts are not allowed?" It's hard to say. Is there any place in our Brazilian army where gifts are not required? If the captain himself doesn't accept gifts, it's inevitable that other superiors won't accept them. Anyway, the captain has already said that gifts are not allowed, so I won't give any. Isn't it better to spend my own military pay? If the superiors have any opinions, tell them to go to the captain. That's right. If I see a superior accepting gifts, I will report to the captain and see if the captain will really send them to a military court. I feel that the captain is serious. Let's observe and see. If we can really stop giving gifts, then our lives will be better in the future. Don't worry. I heard that the captain's backers are Americans, and this ship was obtained directly by the captain from the Americans. General Moraes approached the Americans many times, but failed to give in. In the end, the Americans agreed to allocate this transport ship to us for the captain's sake. Wow. Brother, you are so well informed. Are you serious? TSK, who are you looking down on? I'm telling you that my information is absolutely reliable, but I can't tell you the source of the information. That's great. With the support of the Americans, the captain will definitely be able to do what he says. At least on our ship, he has the final say. Then we will have a good life in the future. If we perform well, we will get allowances. Aren't we treated the same as American soldiers? Yes. Other superiors are looking for their subordinates to extort money, but the captain not only doesn't extort money from us, but also gives us allowances. I've never heard of such a good superior. Don't publicize this good thing everywhere. By then, the brothers from other ships will find ways to squeeze onto our ship, and it will be troublesome to squeeze our own positions. If you can't publicize it, then don't publicize it, but I will follow such a good superior. I will go wherever he tells me to go and obey him absolutely. Didn't the superior say it? The requirement for us is to obey, and obey again. I'm afraid our days will be difficult in the future. It's not easy, but you don't have to. Just apply for transfer. If you dare not obey the captain's orders, I will deal with you first without the captain's help. That's right. We will firmly support the captain's leadership in the future. If anyone dares to do bad things, I will shoot him in the back. Everyone talked about it, and generally speaking, they were all good words. However, Fang Lang would not mind everyone's discussion. Even if they were dissatisfied, they had to follow his requirements, because this was not other places, this was the army, and obeying orders was their duty. Even if someone dared to disobey his orders, Fang Lang had plenty of ways to deal with him. In fact, this was because the Brazilian army had no political commissars, and Brazilians had not studied the history of Fang Lang's motherland. If any modern person knew that Fang Lang paid for the soldiers' allowances privately, they would report it to the higher authorities and Fang Lang would be shot directly. This behavior is a way to buy the hearts of the soldiers. Will the soldiers listen to the country or Fang Lang? When Yuan Datao was training soldiers in Xianjin, he used this trick. Everyone only knew that Yuan Datao didn't know the Qing dynasty, and finally let Yuan Datao sit on the top seat. In other words, Brazil's history is too short, there is no historical background, and everyone doesn't quite understand the twists and turns here. But Fang Lang, the initiator, knows it clearly in his mind, but he can't speak it. Fang Lang is taking the management personnel on the ship to familiarize themselves with various parts of the ship according to the ship manual. Since many places are in Italian, no one knows what they mean. Fang Lang can only apply for a translator from his superiors to put Portuguese labels on the positions of various function switches on the ship to avoid damage to the ship due to incorrect operation. Next, everyone's main job is to familiarize themselves with the various equipment and functional areas on the ship and eat and live on the ship every day. Chapter 21 Return to Brazil. As the crew became more and more familiar with the situation of the ship, Fang Lang finally began to relax. On the third day, after boarding the ship, everyone drove the ship out of the dock for the first time under Fang Lang's organization. It took more than 2 hours to get back to the dock. After Fang Lang relaxed, he began to look for opportunities to visit Commodore Jackson and Colonel Attilio Peresi in turn. After all, relationships can only be close if you move around more. The rest of the time, he either communicated with Mr. Coburn about the company's future plans or discussed the establishment of his own Brazilian branch in the port of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He started a formal date with Lilith and was even invited to dinner by Lilith's mother. But when eating at home, Fang Lang always felt that the atmosphere was weird. His mother-in-law always asked Fang Lang to sit between Lilith and Vivian. After dinner, Mr. Coburn was dragged away, leaving Fang Lang sitting on the sofa with a beautiful girl sitting on the side. This made Fang Lang feel uncomfortable all over. It's not that Fang Lang doesn't like the feeling of being hugged by people on both sides. This is the dream of many men. But you are hugging your girlfriend and sister-in-law in your girlfriend's house, while your father-in-law and mother-in-law are busy in the kitchen. Just thinking about it will make your scalp tingle, okay? Fortunately, Lilith didn't seem to mind her sister Wiwarian being close to her. She even brought Wiwarian with her on a date later, which made Fang Lang feel awkward. He wanted to get close to Lilith, but his sister was right next to him. What should he do? Although Fang Lang felt a little embarrassed, the two sisters didn't care. After a few times, Fang Lang let go. The main reason was that they were often together, so they got used to it. Fang Lang's relationship with the sisters warmed up very quickly. Sometimes they would hug and kiss in front of Wiwarian, but when sending them home once, Wiwarian said goodbye to him and hugged and kissed him deeply like her sister. Fang Lang's scalp was numbed and his hair stood up as he looked at Lilith. As a result, Lilith laughed at Fang Lang's helpless expression. If Fang Lang didn't understand what it meant at this time, he would be worse than an animal. In this way, Fang Lang spent a few days in Italy that he would never forget. Finally, the order to set off was passed down. This time, Fang Lang would drive his Gillis and form a small fleet with 3 transport ships arranged by Lieutenant Colonel Graham from the Global Trade Company. After following the US escort fleet across the Atlantic, they would join the escort fleet on the east coast of the United States to protect the fleet transporting raw materials to Brazil and head south to Brazil. The one-way voyage takes nearly 25 days, plus there will be a delay in Brazil for a while. It is estimated that it will be 2 months later when they return, that is, early March 1945. Fang Lang reluctantly said goodbye to the 2 lovely sisters and introduced Mr. Coburn to Mr. Bodjan Gambino and arranged the subsequent cigarette transaction. After asking Brigadier General Jackson, the mayor of Naples, and Lieutenant Colonel Rolando Crespo of the Italian garrison, to help take care of his business in Italy and his father-in-law's family, he set off with everyone's blessings. After a long voyage, and passing through the heavy blockade of the German army, he finally arrived at the US naval base in the northeast corner of Brazil on January 20, 1945. The US escort fleet only escorted here, and the rest of the journey was escorted by the Brazilian Navy's own fleet. Fortunately, Fang Lang's 4 ships all belonged to the Brazilian military, so there was no need to worry about safety in Brazil. After another week of sea routes, they finally arrived at the Navy's Rio de Janeiro naval base. The arrival of the fleet was naturally greeted by people waiting to receive it, and newspaper reporters came to report on the ceremony of the Brazilian Navy escorting the remains of the fallen soldiers from thousands of miles away. In fact, the remains were all cremated urns, because it was impossible to transport the bodies from Italy to Brazil. If the bodies were transported over such a long distance, and for such a long time, they would have rotted by the time they arrived. The reporters could not see the other 3 transport ships that were loading and unloading the spoils. Among the military generals who received Fang Lang and others, Fang Lang unexpectedly found a familiar figure, Lieutenant Colonel Graham, who was supposed to be on the battlefield in Italy. Sure enough, shortly after the welcoming ceremony, a soldier came to inform Fang Lang that Lieutenant Colonel Graham informed him to meet him at the base headquarters. Fang Lang didn't have time to think about it. He tidied up his military uniform and got on the jeep that came to pick him up. After going around in circles, he finally arrived outside an office. After the guard knocked on the door and reported, he notified Fang Lang to go in. Fang Lang strode into the office without hesitation. Sitting in the main seat of the office was a middle-aged white man who was a little fat. He wore a pair of black-framed glasses on his red rosacea and had the rank of colonel on his shoulders. Lieutenant Colonel Ragam was sitting on the sofa in the reception area of the office, just like when Fang Lang first met him, but this time he was obviously more relaxed than last time, as if he had returned to his own home. Fang Lang didn't know who the colonel sitting behind the desk was, so he could only stand at attention and salute. Report to the commander, I'm Lieutenant Fang Lang of the Navy, ordered to escort the remains of the fallen soldiers back to the country, and the mission has been completed. Reporting to you. The colonel officer at the main seat said with a smile, Lieutenant Fang, you have worked hard. Come and sit here. I heard from Graham that I have to thank you for finding these 3 ships this time. He pointed to the reception area where Ragam was sitting and stood up and walked over. Obviously, they were going to talk in the guest lounge together. Judging from this rhythm, there was something that needed Fang Lang's help. However, the other party was the commander, and Fang Lang could not disobey orders. He could only thank him repeatedly, and after the colonel officer sat down, he sat down on the sofa, without even sitting down, which seemed very respectful. Haha. Fang, don't be so nervous. We are all family. This is Colonel Adams Cheech, the commander of the Rio de Janeiro Naval Base. This time, because I organize the shipment, although I don't have time to escort the whole journey, I still have to fly here when I receive the goods. In the future, you will need to hand over the goods directly to Colonel Teach. Do you understand what I mean? Lieutenant Colonel Ragam laughed heartily and said. Fang Lang thought, no wonder Lieutenant Colonel Ragam arrived in Rio de Janeiro before me. It turned out to be by plane. This boat ride is really a waste of time. It seems that I will have to take a plane in the future. Hearing Ragam say that he is family, Fang Lang thought to himself, whose family am I? Fang Lang also put on his own smile and said to Colonel Teach, hello, sir. I just happened to know about the 3 ships. The specific matters were discussed by Commander Ragam himself. I can't take credit for it. He turned to Lieutenant Colonel Graham and said, sir, I understand. From now on, every time the transported materials are handed over directly to the colonel, no one can pull out a screw without your warrant. Colonel Teach and Lieutenant Colonel Ragam looked at each other and smiled with satisfaction. Seeing that Fang Lang was very tactful, Colonel Teach didn't say more on this topic. He didn't want to talk too much about sensitive topics with the lieutenant, who was not his confidant. After all, this was also considered as using public property for personal gain. He changed the subject and said, I heard that Lieutenant Fang is from Sao Paulo. We are very close to Sao Paulo. Are you going to take 2 days to go back home to visit? Fang Lang was happy when he heard what Colonel Teach said. Colonel Teach was a bit of a timely rain style. He was just thinking about finding a reason to go back home. He handed over the ladder. Yes, sir. My parents and family are all in Sao Paulo. I have been away from home for 2 years, and I do miss home. If possible, I hope to take 2 days off to go back and see my parents. I just don't know what arrangements the sirs have for the return ship, and whether the time is urgent. On the return trip, we mainly want to transport some soldiers. Now the troops have not arrived yet. The plan is to set off in 10 days, so you have plenty of time. You can arrange for your crew to take turns to take a leave, but you must return to Rio de Janeiro 2 days in advance. It was Lieutenant Colonel Graham who answered Fang Lang's question. Fang Lang always felt that Lieutenant Colonel Graham did not seem like a subordinate when he was with Colonel Teach. Although the two acted very close, Colonel Teach's rank was there. According to Fang Lang's understanding of officialdom rules, Lieutenant Colonel Graham should not always answer questions, which seemed to be disrespectful to Colonel Teach. However, it may also be related to the fact that the two did not belong to the same system and were not subordinate to each other. Just like Fang Lang was an officer of the Expeditionary Navy, he was not actually under the jurisdiction of the two officers in front of him. Although Fang Lang did not understand the situation now, he could not show it. Since Colonel Attilio Peresi told him that the mission of his ship was to dock with Lieutenant Colonel Graham and transport the remains of the fallen soldiers and spoils, he must obey Lieutenant Colonel Graham's orders now. However, even if Graham explained his return time and transportation mission to him, he would not execute it until he sent a telegram to confirm with the Expeditionary Navy. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, Fulfilling the Promise. Since Lieutenant Colonel Graham said that there was plenty of time and everyone was allowed to take turns to rest, Fang Lang certainly had no objection. He turned around and listened to Colonel Teach say, Sao Paulo is less than 500 kilometers away from Rio, but it would be a waste of time if you drive. Let me ask my adjutant to book a flight for you this afternoon. When the time comes, say hello to Captain Abubakari Blackwell of the garrison in Sao Paulo and ask them to arrange a jeep to pick you up at the airport so that you can travel around home. Colonel Teach was obviously a local boss and had connections with the surrounding garrisons. Without waiting for Fang Lang to answer, he directly gave orders to the adjutant outside the office. After Colonel Teach gave the order, Fang Lang stood up and thanked him. Mr. Colonel, thank you so much. This will make it much more convenient for me to be at home. Don't worry, I will go early and come back early, and I will definitely not delay the trip. He thought to himself that he had no roots in China. Colonel Teach was considered a local boss in Rio. It seemed that his future development in Brazil still needed Colonel Teach's help. He would send some American specialties over later to make friends. Well, remember to return to the team on time and write down Mr. Colonel's phone number. If you encounter any difficulties or need help in Sao Paulo, call us as soon as possible. We are all family, and there should be nothing we can't handle in Brazil. Lieutenant Colonel Graham spoke again and made a promise. That's right. I'll leave you my phone number. Contact me as soon as you have something to say. I heard that there are many Japanese people in your area. Although they are still relatively obedient now, I heard that they have established some kind of mafia organization among them. There are some small actions in private. The police may not be able to suppress them. If you encounter something that cannot be solved, call me and I will directly contact the garrison to help you deal with them. Colonel Teach also spoke at the right time. Fang Lang did not expect that this Colonel Teach, whom he met for the first time, would be so easy to talk to. This made him a little uncomfortable. It seems that Lieutenant Colonel Graham said something to him, otherwise he, a small lieutenant, would be worthy of such a humble attitude from a colonel. Don't think that a colonel is just a mid-level officer. Brazil is not as populous as the motherland, and the number of soldiers is not as large. At this time, Brazil has a land area of 8.51 million square kilometers and a population of only 45 million. It is truly a vast land with a sparse population. With such a population base, the number of Brazilian troops is even more imaginable. At this time, the combined strength of the Brazilian Navy, Army, and Air Force is less than 100,000, and some National Guards and armed police forces that are only responsible for domestic local security must be excluded. In fact, the regular army is less than 80,000, and the Brazilian Expeditionary Force is 25,000 selected from these 80,000 people. This is why the commander of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, General Moraes, is only a major general. Of course, by the 21st century, the population of Brazil has increased to 210 million, and the number of troops has increased to about 280,000. Among their so-called own people, Graham's status should be higher than Teach, because Fang Lang has not yet integrated into their so-called team of their own people, so he is not very clear about the specific situation, and can only listen to what the superiors say. Fang Lang will never join any Brazilian party because, according to Fang Lang's memory in later life, Brazil was affected by the hostile relationship between the Soviet Union and the United States during the Cold War, and the domestic political situation was very turbulent. Even later, the army carried out a military dictatorship over Brazil for 21 years. In fact, when Fang Lang just woke up in this era, he thought about taking his family and fleeing this chaotic country. But Fang Lang remembered that there were only tens of thousands of Chinese in Brazil in the future, while there were more than 1.5 million Japanese, and in the memory of the original body, the Chinese in Brazil were oppressed by the Japanese, and his father's conservative and old-fashioned character would never be willing to leave the farm at home. He felt that this might be the mission given to him by the times. He must take advantage of the situation and expand the number of Chinese in Brazil and their living environment in a chaotic environment. Brazil is an immigrant country. There is not much racial discrimination, and there is no anti-Chinese law. However, it is the 5th largest country in terms of area and the 7th largest economy in the world in the 21st century. Since he has come to this era, he has the obligation to expand the influence of Chinese in Brazil. Of course, these are all Fang Lang's thoughts, and he will definitely not tell anyone. There is no reason for Fang Lang to refuse the olive branch extended by Colonel Teach. He quickly stood up and saluted the two with gratitude on his face, saying, "Thank you for your selfless help, and I will definitely repay you too." The two were very happy to see Fang Lang's statement, and said no more. After Fang Lang said goodbye and left, he returned to his transport ship, the Chalice. At this time, the cargo on the Chalice had been transported down first. Fang Lang ordered the first mate Delator to gather the crew. Soon the crew lined up neatly on the overtime. Fang Lang took out the roster and called the roll and said, "Brothers, thank you for your outstanding performance during this voyage, which allowed us to successfully complete this mission. I have good news to tell you. We have just received an order from the Navy Department. We will transport reinforcement back to the European front in 10 days. Therefore, we will arrange for you to take 2 shifts for vacation, and each person will have 4 days off." Hearing Fang Lang's good news, the soldiers below cheered. After everyone's emotions slowly calmed down, Fang Lang continued, "Then next, I will fulfill my promise. What I have in my hand is a statistical table of everyone's performance on the ship during this period of time. You should all know it, because I have collected each of your evaluations of other people's performance. Each of your evaluation scores comes from 3 parts. First, the most important one is definitely my score. Secondly, it is the score of your superiors on your performance. Finally, it is the score of your comrades around you. The higher the score, the more allowances you will get. Then, I will start to distribute our first allowance. Please come forward one by one to receive your allowance, if your name is called." Next, Fang Lang began to announce the job standards and scores of each person according to the list. For example, the basic job allowance of the first mate Delator is $100. Because of his outstanding work performance, everyone generally gave him a high score, so his score was as high as 120 points, so his allowance was $120. Soon, each crew member received their own allowance. Everyone was smiling and comparing the allowances in their hands. Of course, there were also crew members with poor performance who received very little allowance, and they felt a little indignant. Fang Lang saw it in his eyes and said calmly, "I know that some people get more allowances and some get less, so I want to explain here. First of all, everyone has seen that the basic job allowances of officers are relatively high, so I hope that you all will study more when you are working, perform seriously at work, and strive to improve your position. General Napoleon once said that a soldier who does not want to be a general is not a good soldier. So I hope that everyone can become a general in the future. Of course, if anyone among you becomes a general, don't forget to give me the allowance." The soldiers laughed, and the atmosphere was harmonious. Secondly, there are a few brothers among you who have performed poorly at work. Therefore, many brothers have given low scores to those brothers who have performed poorly. Then, I hope that those brothers who have received low scores will not think about who gave you low scores, but look for the reasons in themselves. Is there something they have not done well? Is it because of their attitude or their skills? After finding the reasons, Turn them around as soon as possible and don't wait until you are eliminated by everyone. Other brothers, don't give up on these brothers who are lagging behind. Don't scold them, but lend a helping hand when appropriate to help them improve. Only when each of us becomes stronger can our collective become stronger and invincible. The brothers below burst into warm applause that lasted for a long time. Fang Lang pressed his hand and said, "Finally, I want to ask you all a favor. Brothers who are on vacation, please help me find crew members around you. I need crew members who dare to run ocean-going transport. You all have seen the transport ship that returned to Brazil with us. It was the boss of this company who entrusted me with this task when he left Italy. He promised me that if I helped find a qualified crew member, he would give me a $10 introduction fee. The basic salary of the crew is $50 a month, and there are additional subsidies when performing missions in dangerous areas during wartime. As everyone knows, a monthly salary of $50 is a high salary in Brazil, so I hope that, if you have friends, you can help introduce them. And I don't think highly of this $10 introduction fee, so whoever introduces it will get the $10. That's what I want to say today, and then I will hand it over to the first mate." Looking at the shining expressions of the soldiers below, Fang Lang waved his hand and gave his position to the first mate Delator, asking him to arrange the ship's maintenance, sanitation, and vacation scheduling. Chapter 23, Homecoming. After explaining the matters on the ship, Fang Lang called the 3 captains of Global Trade Company and the personnel arranged by the company to establish a branch company to his side and gave them instructions. He packed his luggage, put it on his backpack, bought a pack of cigarettes on the street, stuffed American specialties into it, turned back to the naval base, and knocked on the door of Colonel Titch's office. Colonel Titch saw Fang Lang pushing the door with his luggage and hurriedly stepped forward to stop the other party's military salute and said, "Lieutenant Fang, are you ready to leave? I will ask my adjutant to send the plane ticket right away." Obviously, he thought Fang Lang was here to pick up the plane ticket. Seeing Colonel Titch's actions, Fang Lang hurriedly said, "Mr. Colonel, there is no rush for the plane ticket. It won't be too late to find your adjutant to pick it up when I go out later. This time I came here mainly because I want you to help with something." When Colonel Titch heard that Fang Lang needed his help, he did not hesitate and said, "Oh, just tell me if you have anything to say. Come on, let's sit down and talk." Then he took Fang Lang to sit on the sofa in the reception area. Fang Lang said bluntly, "It's like this, Colonel. The transport ship that came with us this time belongs to Global Trading Co. Limited. Their head just found me and said that he wanted to invest in building a branch in Rio de Janeiro and purchase a dedicated dock. He asked if he could get your help. It's just a small matter. Brazil welcomes everyone to invest. They can just go directly to the city government to discuss such matters. The military has no way to intervene in this type of investment." So Colonel Titch said with a little doubt, "Of course, they have actually set off for the city government. However, since they are unfamiliar with the place, they ask me if there is anyone I know who can take care of them. They will not treat their friends unfairly." "Oh, I don't know. What kind of care do they want? I don't know the details. They mainly want me to communicate first. If you are willing to make friends, their person in charge will come to visit you later." "Of course I'm willing to make friends. Tell them that I will not go out today and ask them to come to me at any time. It seems that this company has a close relationship with you for such a small matter," Colonel Titch said with obvious tentativeness. "Hey, from what you said, the boss of this company is a friend I met when I participated in the American assessment. Since we are friends, of course we will help each other, right? I believe you will become friends too, right?" Fang Lang also deliberately blurred his relationship with this company. "Haha. That's right, we are already friends, and we are also good friends with the Americans." Colonel Titch laughed. Fang Lang felt as if he had grasped something, but also as if he had grasped nothing. Without thinking too much, he said, "Yes, we are all friends. If that's the case, I will go back and inform them. I will go home first. See you when I come back." After that, Fang Lang stood up and prepared to leave. Colonel Titch saw that after Fang Lang stood up, a cigarette was left on the seat. He reminded him, "Okay, we will see you when I come back. Don't forget to bring your cigarettes. Fang Lang smiled and said, this is a little local specialty I gave you for our first meeting. I hope you don't mind it. After that, he turned and left. Colonel Tich was stunned. What local specialty is there in the United States? Looking at the packaging of this cigarette, it is obviously a local cigarette. It was still opened. When he picked it up, he saw that there were several bundles of green things inside. He hurriedly looked up at Fang Lang, only to see that Fang Lang had already walked away with his backpack on his back. I couldn't help but sigh in my heart. Lieutenant Fang is really a good friend. Fang Lang left the naval base and stopped a taxi and went directly to the airport in Rio de Janeiro. The Rio de Janeiro airport at that time was not comparable to the domestic airport at that time. The Rio de Janeiro airport at that time was invested and built by Pan American Airways of the United States, and it had already opened an international airport that could fly directly to New York. From this, we can see that Brazil at that time was actually very developed. If it had not been for the continuous unrest during the Cold War, I believe that Brazil's development would have been very rapid. Airplanes are indeed much faster than ships, even if they are propeller planes of this era. After less than 2 hours of flight, Fang Lang successfully arrived at his original hometown, Sao Paulo, Brazil. At that time, the Sao Paulo airport was very simple, and the pickup personnel were directly at the apron, so Fang Lang saw 2 military Willys jeeps parked on the side. Knowing that this was the special car that Colonel Teach had arranged for him to contact the garrison, he walked up to it and saw a captain officer coming down from the co-pilot seat of one of the cars and looking at him. Obviously, this was the Captain Abu Bakari Blackwell that Colonel Teach had mentioned. Fang Lang stood at attention and saluted. "Hello, sir. I'm Lieutenant Fang Lang of the Brazilian Expeditionary Force." The other men also saluted. The captain officer said, "Hello, Lieutenant Fang. I'm Captain Abu Bakari Blackwell. I received an order from Colonel Teach to pick me up at the airport. Welcome home." After that, he came up and gave Fang Lang a warm hug. "Thank you so much, Captain Blackwell. It would be really inconvenient here without a car." Fang Lang said politely. "Haha. Don't be polite. Let's get in the car. I'll take you home. We'll talk while we walk. You must tell me how you killed the German devils on the European battlefield." Captain Blackwell was a yellow-brown mixed race, very enthusiastic, and obviously yearned to be able to fight on the battlefield with real swords and guns. Seeing 2 cars, he knew that one was reserved for him. He probably wanted to give him a boost, because Colonel Teach also said that the Japanese in Sao Paulo were not very peaceful. Fang Lang also wanted to make more friends with the local garrison. Of course, he would not refuse, and got on Blackwell's jeep directly. The two chatted about their experiences in Europe along the way, and the car drove towards the port of Santos in Sao Paulo. Fang Lang's home was in the suburbs near the port of Santos. Captain Blackwell in the car was amazed and envious when he heard that Fang Lang had captured many Italians and killed several German soldiers on the battlefield. Later, he heard that he was transferred to the Navy after being injured, and he said it was a pity. He obviously felt that Fang Lang had missed the opportunity to kill people on the battlefield. Under the guidance of Fang Lang, the car came to the Chinese village where Fang Lang was. Fang Lang saw the villagers on the road, all of whom were familiar faces. They called him Uncle and Uncle. At first, everyone looked at Fang Lang in military uniform and didn't react. It was not until Fang Lang called them that they realized who it was and greeted him. He also did not forget to discuss with the neighbors, "Isn't this the eldest son of the Fang family? I heard that he ran away from home to join the army 2 years ago. He's back now and seems to be doing well. He's riding in a jeep." That's right. The old man of the Fang family was very worried at the time, but he couldn't find him after searching for a long time. I heard that he later sent a letter home and only then did they know that he had joined the army. That's right. At that time, the wild boys who played well with this kid were all pulled over for questioning, but no one said where they had been. I remember his mother fainted several times because she was so worried. Now there is chaos everywhere outside. Going out to be a soldier is a dangerous job. I didn't expect that he can come back safely now. He is lucky. He can come back in a jeep. It seems that he has made a name for himself. Sure enough, only naughty children dare to go out and do things. Maybe they will make a name for themselves. Then you don't say it. How many of those who go out and wear clothes are really famous? You don't say those who went out and never came back. Hey, everyone, stop arguing. The return of the eldest son of the Fang family is a happy event. Everyone should go and see him and congratulate him. Fang Lang did not hear everyone's discussion. Looking at the surrounding environment, his childhood memories flashed through his mind from time to time. Every path and every ditch had his childhood shadows. The closer Fang Lang got to home, the more complicated his mood became. Perhaps seeing Fang Lang's mood, Captain Blackwell, who had been chatting all the way, also calmed down. He quietly looked at this quiet and peaceful village and everyone Fang Lang greeted. Although he did not understand the Chinese they spoke, he could see the enthusiasm of the villagers. Fang Lang wondered in his heart whether his father would not let him in. After all, the father and son would quarrel every time they talked. He ran away from home because he did not want to study anymore and did not want to live on his family's farm. He had to go to the big city to see the world. He had a big fight with his father and left home in anger. His mother, who loved him the most, did not know how sad she would be. While he was thinking, the car had already arrived at the gate of his own courtyard. Chapter 24, The Wanderer Returns Home. The Fang family's house is a large courtyard near the river. The structure of the roof can be seen in some Chinese style, but the layout of the house is a bit European style. The area in the middle of the courtyard is tidied up to have a taste of Jiangnan Water Village. After the car stopped, Fang Lang asked Captain Blackwell to get out of the car and go into the house for a cup of coffee. The captain said that considering Fang Lang had been away from home for so long, it would be better not to disturb Fang Lang's reunion with his family and come to visit the house tomorrow. After several attempts at the door, seeing that the other party was determined, he stopped forcing him and only agreed to come to the house for coffee tomorrow. After leaving a jeep at the door, they got in the car and left. When Fang Lang turned around and looked at the door of his house, he saw his family staring at him in a daze. When he turned around and saw his face clearly, his mother Yang Xia had already run over with tears in her eyes. Fang Lang put down his luggage without saying anything, knelt on the ground, kowtowed to his grandfather, father, and mother, and shouted, "Grandpa, Mom and Dad, the unfilial son Fang Lang is back, kowtow to you." Fang Lang didn't know why he knelt down and kowtowed, thinking that this might be the natural reaction of the original owner, and he also expressed his apology for occupying the original owner's body. Mother Yang Xia had already run over, grabbed Fang Lang's arm, looked at her son's red forehead, and kept muttering, "My son. You are finally back. You are finally back." She wiped her tears while speaking. Fang Lang's eyes turned red as well, and he kept saying, "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm ignorant and made you worry." His mother just kept wiping her tears and said, "It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. Come on, come in. Tao, come and help your brother with the luggage." Looking at his brother who was called over by his mother, Fang Lang was not polite and threw the luggage in his hand to his brother Fang Tao and said, "Tao, you've grown a lot taller in the past 2 years since I last saw you. You've become a big boy now. No one has bullied you in the past 2 years since I left, right?" Fang Tao took the luggage from Fang Lang's hand, staggered by the weight, and almost lost his balance. He also said with a smile on his face, "Brother, you're finally back. Wow. This bag is heavy enough. No one bullied me. Zhuwu and the others protected me when we were in school. There are not many Chinese people among us, and we are very united in school. Now that Brazil has joined the war, those Japanese classmates have also stopped. That's good. If there are still people bullying you, tell me and I'll take the soldiers to deal with them." After saying that, he patted his brother's shoulder and walked towards his grandfather and father at the door of the house. He came to his grandfather, held his grandfather's arm and said, "Grandpa, I'm back. Are you still strong?" The old man is already 73 years old, but he is still strong. He does a set of boxing every day. As the old saying goes, 73 and 84 are 2 hurdles for the elderly. If you can get through them, you can live 100 years. According to Fang Lang's observation, he dare not say that the old man will live another 10 years, but there is no problem living for 5 or 6 years. "I'm a very strong old man. I do a set of boxing every morning, and I can eat and sleep. You, a bad boy, have made a difference, and learned to run away from home." The old man thought that his eldest grandson was gone, and he wiped a few tears. The old man said very open-mindedly. Fang Lang thought to himself, "Now I don't know whether your grandson is dead or not, but don't worry, I will help him to fulfill his filial piety to you. I'm sorry, Grandpa is an unfilial grandson, and makes you worry. It's good that you are back. It's good that you are back safely. Talk to your father properly. Stop arguing, okay?" The old man patted Fang Lang's hand that was supporting his arm, and winked at Fang Lang's father who was standing beside him. Fang Lang understood and said to his father who was looking stern, "Dad, I'm back. I'm sorry, it's my fault. I shouldn't have left without saying goodbye, and made you worry." Father Fang Xinshan, under the discipline of his grandfather, is a traditional and conservative person with a strong sense of family. After the death of his grandmother, his grandfather no longer managed the family affairs, so the actual head of the family is his father. In Fang Lang's impression, his father has always been very strict, and believes that filial sons are born under the stick, so Fang Lang and Fang Tao have been asked to punish their brother since childhood. However, after being educated by their father, they have two completely different personalities. Fang Lang is never afraid of being beaten. He has been naughty since he was a child. He has been madly testing his father's bottom line on the edge of death. Fortunately, he was protected by his mother and grandfather, so he was not beaten to death halfway. The younger brother Fang Tao is a monkey frightened by killing a chicken to scare the monkey. He was frightened by the way his father taught his brother since he was a child and dared not resist. He was very obedient and became a good boy. His academic performance was very good, but he was too honest and was often bullied by his classmates at school. When Fang Lang was at home, someone bullied his younger brother, and Fang Lang went over to beat them up. Gradually, everyone knew that he had a brother who was like a devil, and no one dared to bully him. This is why Fang Lang would ask him if he was bullied as soon as he came back. Fang Lang could see that his father's eyes were slightly red, and his fists were clenched and loosened, and clenched again. Obviously, he was calming down. His mother was worried that his father would say something hurtful again, so she stood beside his father and grabbed his hand and patted it gently. In the end, the father just said come in, and took the lead to turn around and walk into the courtyard. The mother beside him was obviously relieved. She followed her father, waved repeatedly, and grabbed Fang Lang's arm, and walked towards the house, as if she was afraid that Fang Lang would run away again. After everyone entered the house, they moved a few stools in the living room, and gathered together to ask Fang Lang about his recent situation. Fang Lang also picked up some light things to talk about. He didn't dare to talk about his injury. He just said that he saved an American on the battlefield, and then the other party helped to find a relationship and transferred Fang Lang away from the front line. Now he is in charge of a transport ship, responsible for traveling between Brazil and Italy, so he has the opportunity to go home to visit his relatives. After hearing this, everyone felt relieved. Only the old man had followed his great-grandfather to experience the chaos of his hometown and knew the dangers on the battlefield. The experience was definitely not as light as Fang Lang described. However, the old man would definitely not expose Fang Lang's evasion in front of his family. Just when everyone was somewhat relaxed, the father said, "The sea is not safe. There are German submarines everywhere. Have you forgotten why Brazil joined the war? Wasn't it the German submarines that attacked the Brazilian transport ships?" After hearing his father's words, the mother's heart was lifted again. She looked at Fang Lang with a worried look and said, "Son, is that so? Then can we not go?" Fang Lang didn't know whether to laugh or cry after hearing his mother's words. He was about to comfort her, but he heard his father say, "Woman, what nonsense are you talking about? Do you think being a soldier is the same as being at home? If you want to do it, you do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't do it. If you don't go, you will be caught and shot as a deserter." The mother trembled all over at the father's words, and tears were about to burst out again. Fang Lang hurriedly said, "Mom, don't worry. Now my son's ship is operating under the heavy protection of the escort fleet. There are planes in the sky and warships on the sea. It is very safe. Besides, the Allied forces have counterattacked into the European continent, and the Axis powers will not be able to jump around for a few days. I estimate that the war will be over this year. In order to dispel his mother's doubts, Fang Lang accidentally revealed their history. But he didn't mind, because first of all, they were all his family here, and there was nothing he couldn't say. Secondly, everyone on both sides of the war knew that the balance of victory had already tilted towards the Allies, and victory was only a matter of time. Fang Lang's words aroused his father's interest, and he asked Fang Lang, "How do you know that the war will end this year? You, a soldier, must not believe the propaganda of the army. These are all the superiors who are instigating you to fight hard and deliberately promote it like this." I didn't expect my father to be so knowledgeable and not be led by the overwhelming propaganda outside. This made Fang Lang have a new understanding of this feudal patriarch who had never been out of Sao Paulo. "What's the look in your eyes, kid? Am I wrong?" Father Fang Xinshan found that Fang Lang was looking at him with a strange look and couldn't help but speak. Chapter 25 Censorship. You have to know that in this era, ordinary civilians don't understand the guiding role of public opinion, especially the low level of education of Brazilian people, and his father is a feudal conservative who has only completed junior high school education. I saw in the newspaper that the Allied forces are unstoppable, and we will win soon. Brother is right. Brother Fang Tao also rarely made his own comments. Have you become stupid from reading? Can you believe what the newspaper says? They used to promote how good the relationship between Germany and us is. Later, when the Americans came, the Germans became evil. I taught you, since childhood, that reading thousands of books is not as good as traveling thousands of miles, and believing in books is not as good as having no books. The wisdom passed down by our ancestors has been completely forgotten by you after attending foreign schools for a few years. After hearing Fang Tao's words, his father shouted angrily, which made Fang Lang, who was about to speak, admire his father's wisdom even more. The teacher said that news has three characteristics: authenticity, timeliness, and accuracy. The most important thing about news reports is to ensure authenticity. If you don't even believe in the news, what do you want to believe in? Fang Tao retorted his father with his neck stiff and his face flushed. Fang Lang looked at his brother at this moment and felt that he was completely different from the timid brother in his original memory. Could it be that his brother had entered a rebellious period and now took over his job and started to argue with his father? How many times have I told you that with your character of believing everything others say, you shouldn't study journalism? I told you to go home quietly and run the family business with me, but you didn't listen. Just wait. Sooner or later, you will be sold out and help others count money. The father was also angry and shook his head and sighed, obviously feeling that he had failed in educating his children. Seeing that his brother was about to refute, Fang Lang reached out to stop his brother who was about to speak and said, "Brother, Dad is really right this time. You should know that our Brazilian government is now established based on the German system. The three characteristics of news you mentioned are in an ideal state, but don't forget that the Brazilian propaganda department has a book and newspaper censorship system. Do you think the government will really let the people know everything that happens in the world? But I read in the newspaper 2 days ago that the propaganda department has abolished the book and newspaper censorship. Even if you are right, the news content we see after the abolition will always be true, right?" Fang Tao looked confident. "Oh, has the propaganda department abolished the book and newspaper censorship now? I didn't expect the government to be so bold. Aren't they afraid of social chaos?" Fang Lang is not against freedom of the press, but sometimes freedom of the press is not necessarily a good thing. The interweaving of various ideas will cause social unrest. Maybe this is a root cause of the chaos in Brazil later. But Fang Lang thought about it and thought it was a good thing. As a later generation, Fang Lang is very clear about the role of the mouthpiece of public opinion. It seems that it is necessary for me to invest in establishing my own media organization. Newspapers, radio stations, and later television are a big industry. Before his brother could answer, Fang Lang asked again, "Brother, are you studying journalism in school?" "Yes. Our school's journalism major is very famous in Brazil." Fang Tao was obviously very proud of being admitted to this major. Is there any good newspaper in Sao Paulo? What if I buy a newspaper and let you run it in the future? The whole family looked at Fang Lang in amazement. Weren't they discussing the international situation? How did they jump to buying a newspaper for their brother to run? They haven't even started eating yet. He drank like this after just a few dishes. Don't look at me like that. This time I joined the army and I have gained a lot of experience. At least I feel that I'm no longer the ignorant boy who ran away from home. My father just asked me why I thought the Allies would win and the Axis powers were about to fail. I didn't read it in the newspaper, nor did I listen to the army's propaganda. I came to this conclusion through my own observation and analysis. First of all, I used to be in the army and fought on the front line. I found that the age span of German soldiers was very large. The oldest was 50 years old and the youngest was 15 years old. What does this mean? It means that the Germans' war potential is about to be exhausted. The young people are about to be lost, so they will recruit these old and weak. Secondly, now's a naval transport captain. Although the Germans are blockading the Atlantic and transport ships are constantly being attacked, I have been to the United States. The United States now builds a Liberty ship of more than 7,000 tons, which takes less than 4 days to complete, and at least 3 ships are launched every day. This number is far more than the number sunk by Germany. The result of this increase and decrease is obvious. The Allies can get a steady stream of supplies, while the Axis powers have been surrounded. In this case, isn't the outcome clear at a glance? Hearing Fang Lang's analysis, several people looked at each other in surprise, and they all felt that Fang Lang in front of them was very unfamiliar. After a long while, the father slapped his thigh and said, "Well, my son has made great progress. His analysis is well reasoned and clear, and ordinary people like us can understand it clearly. Teoa, learn from your brother. Don't blindly follow others. You should have your own mind and ideas. Do you understand?" Fang Lang didn't expect to hear words of praise from his father. This was really the sun rising from the west. His mother also looked at him with joy, and looked at his father from time to time, looking very pleased. Fang Tao fell into deep thought. He didn't expect his brother to conduct in-depth analysis and dissection from the 2 details he observed, and draw his own conclusions, instead of simply saying how powerful, brave, and righteous the Allied soldiers were like in the newspapers. How evil and incompetent the enemy was. It seemed to open a whole new world for Fang Tao. After teaching his younger son a lesson, Fang's father turned his attention to Fang Lang. "You are a soldier, and suddenly you say you want to buy a newspaper for your younger brother to run. How much money do you have? You are just talking nonsense." "Dad, I'm not talking nonsense. I have experienced a lot outside in the past 2 years. I often recall the time when we were bullied by the Japanese. Although we Chinese have joined the Brazilian nationality, we cannot change our skin color. We cannot forget our ancestors and our Yan Huang bloodline. Now we Chinese, whether we are in Brazil, the United States, Europe, Southeast Asia, or all over the world, our lives are not easy. We are discriminated against and treated differently. I thought about it for a long time. There are many reasons, such as the lack of unity among Chinese abroad, but I think the most fundamental reason is that we do not have a strong motherland. Now our motherland is being invaded by the Japanese, but we are powerless. Even in Brazil, we are bullied by the Japanese, whose population is dozens of times larger than ours. I'm not reconciled, and do not want to go on like this. But, my eldest grandson. Good job." After hearing Fang Lang's words, the old man was the first to stand up, his face flushed and excited, clapping and shouting. "I never thought that I, Fang, would have such an outstanding grandson. I, an old man, have no regrets in my life. Boy, tell me what you want to do. I will call the old brothers over now and fully support you." Father Fang Xinshan also stood up and stared at his eldest son in a daze, as if he had seen a ghost. The old man hit him on the leg with a cane. "What are you doing here? Get out of the way. Grandson, tell me, do you have any ideas or thoughts?" Fang Lang also looked at this old man who had been silent all the time and never commented on any family affairs with a confused look on his face. He didn't understand why there was such a big reaction suddenly. His younger brother and mother were also stunned when they saw their father being hit with a stick. Fortunately, Fang Lang heard the old man's question and said affirmatively, "Yes, I do have some ideas, and I have already started to implement them." "Okay, you don't have to say anything for now. Zinshan, go and invite all my old brothers in our village to come over and tell them that I have something to talk to them about." Seeing that his father was still in a daze, he hit him with his crutch again. "Go quickly." The father hurriedly dodged and said, "Oh, I'll go now." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.